in the north!
Dracarys.
I will hurt you for this.
I am the sword in the darkness.
Lion doesn't concern himself with the opinions of the sheep.
Let me give you some advice, bastard.
Chaos isn't a pit. Chaos is a ladder.
The Dance of the Dragons. A stupid name for a Targaryen civil war where my ancestors danced away my birthright. Before the war, House Targaryen counted 18 dragons. By the end, we had 2, and nearly as few Targaryens. We would never be as powerful or as feared again.
Gods. Kings. Fire. And blood. Dreams didn't make us kings. Dragons did. The threat of war looms.
Duty is sacrifice. It eclipses all things, even blood. All men of honour must pay its price. North owes a great duty to the Seven Kingdoms, one older than any oath. Since the days of the first men, we have stood as guardians against the cold and the dark. But my ancestor, Torrhen Stark, began a tradition by making an offering at the onset of winter. 1 in 10 men from our household was to be chosen to fortify the watch. This is not a sentence, but an honour. A duty embraced by all who serve the North. Even by mine own kin. The North must stand ready. Winter is coming.
I tell a tale of a fierce war! 10,000 came, but we had more!
Press them to the bloody shore!
And we can't see the water's floor! Cause the lake's full of the bone!
And welcome welcome all to the Hour of the Dragon. Welcome. Well, here we go, folks. Today has been a very interesting day within the world of A Song of Ice and Fire. Of course, not only will we'll be diving into House of the Dragon and the Episode 7 trailer, but today the play that many A Song of Ice and Fire fans have been waiting a very long time to premiere has finally come out, and it has given us some incredible, like an overwhelming amount of information. All that is 100% book canon. This is not show canon. This is coming directly from George R.R. Martin, and everything that was revealed in the play is 100% canon to the book. And I mean stuff about Robert's Rebellion, Rhaegar and Lyanna, tons of stuff was revealed and confirmed. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. And, of course, definitely diving into the Episode 7 trailer as well. We are getting down to the final 2 episodes of Season 3, ladies and gents. House of the Dragon is coming to an end as we approach the first Battle of Tumbleton. But, man, so much to break down from this play. So freaking much. A lot of stuff confirmed that has been pretty, heavy fan theories for a long time. And some stuff that has just come completely out of left field that I don't think anybody has guessed. So it definitely revealed a lot. If nothing else, it 100% paints Robert's Rebellion, Rhaegar and Lyanna, the Mad King, all of those characters during that time period. It paints a lot of them in a completely different light. But yeah, we're gonna talk about that. Definitely gonna talk about episode 6, the goodbye of Crispy Crispin Cole, of course, the highlight of the episode, I believe, for many. But yeah, a lot of stuff in the world of A Song of Ice and Fire this week, and that has been very, very fun. Anytime you get something book related, it just makes book fans super, super excited. And this is stuff that we as book fans have been theorizing on and predicting and talking about for decades now. And we're finally getting definitive answers about some of it. So that is pretty good. But welcome, everybody. Welcome. Yes, wow, the Mad King play revealed a ton. Yeah, if you guys are a part of the Discord, I did throw some of the info in the Discord in the House of the Dragon section on the Mad King play, some of the stuff that was revealed. And it's a lot. It is quite a lot. And yes, Cole is good and crispy now. Yes, RIP to Sir Crispy Crispin Cole, the Kingmaker. Even though he wasn't really much of the Kingmaker on the show as he was in the book, like the Kingmaker monikers earned a little bit more in the book than the show, I feel. But yeah, good old Crispy Crispin is no more. And yeah, the Butcher's Ball went down pretty similar to how it does in the book, with some alterations. But the overall ending, the overall kind of outcome, pretty similar. Pretty similar. But we're going to dive into that. We will take a look at the episode 7 trailer as well. And I've only watched the episode 7 trailer once, so even I need to kind of watch it again and dive into it a little bit and see what exactly is in it, and see what exactly we're going to get in the penultimate episode. The penultimate episode for a season is usually one of the best ones. But from what we're hearing, it doesn't look like the Battle of Tumbleton is going to be in episode 7. But it's not to say it's not still going to be a good episode, I guess. But we shall see. How's the play? I've heard it has been canceled over the weekend. It's been canceled in some places. I mean, it was booked in so many different venues, and a lot of venues got canceled last minute, but not all of them. A good amount of them did play, and the ones that did get canceled got rescheduled. So, everybody's going to be able to see it that did have tickets, or at least most of them anyway, from what I'm hearing. But no, the play did happen in many different locations today. And again, it revealed a lot. And from what I can tell, people are loving it. I haven't seen it myself, but I do know all of the information that was revealed on it. Every single little new detail that was in that play, we are going to talk about. I have a list of everything it revealed. And it's a lot. It is quite a lot. For sure. Yeah, we got the info. We got the 411 on the new play. And yeah, we're going to dive into it for sure. Welcome, West to Westeros. Good to see you, my friend. We got the Dragonfire in the house. Welcome. We got Series Queries, who has just donated 10 jewels. Thank you so much for the jewels, Series Queries. Very, very much appreciate you. Thank you. Just one bastard left, guys. Yeah, just one bastard left, guys. One indeed. Until there's more, that is. There's always more coming down the line. We got EMM in the house. Welcome, EMM. Welcome. We got Blue here as well. Welcome, Blue, and welcome, April May. All right. No, we did not talk. I talked a little bit about episode 6 the night it aired, but I wasn't home. I didn't have my normal equipment or anything, so it was just kind of really quick, just first reaction. So we're definitely going to talk. We're going to talk episode 6. We're going to look at the episode 7 trailer and take a look at what is coming up next week as well. And of course, definitely some of the play stuff. Yeah, the play stuff was it really did reveal so freaking much. And this stuff is like candy, for us, A Song of Ice and Fire book fans, getting some of this information we got in this play. Whoo, man, it's some big stuff. I'm talking, like straight up 100% confirming that Lyanna Stark was the Knight of the Laughing Tree. That's, just off the top of my head, that was one of the ones that stood out to me the most when I was reading all of the things that were confirmed, which is something that a lot of us have been theorizing for a while, but, we do have 100% confirmation. Lyanna Stark is the Knight of the Laughing Tree. So yeah, it's got a lot of stuff in it. A lot of stuff. Yeah, I'll have no songs about how brave you died, Kingmaker. There's 10,000s dead on your account. I am so disappointed that line wasn't in the show. Incredibly disappointed. And even more disappointed that they chose to give Sir Galbald Gray's incredibly good line to Oscar Tully. And not that Oscar Tully isn't a good character or anything, but he is played by a very young actor. And sometimes young actors like that, they just don't really have the required nuance every once in a while to deliver like a really good, profound line like that. And it just, I don't know, Oscar Tully saying that line, it didn't land for me as well. It didn't come across as kind of witty. It didn't come across intimidating or menacing in the slightest. It just felt like he just couldn't really deliver the line very well. But again, he's a very young actor, and I think that's not his fault. I think that kind of lies in the fault of the writers. When you're writing out these scenes of dialogue, you have to kind of pick and choose and realize what your assets are. What kind of, what lines are right for which characters, I guess. And I just don't think that was a line that was right for him. I know Garbled Gray wasn't on the show, but I think they should have given that line to Roddy the Ruin. I think it would have just landed way better. It would have come across a lot more kind of intimidating. And I think it would have just made the scene, a lot better. But yeah, not having Pate Longleaf's line in there, I know. Yeah, they set it all up for the line and then fumbled. I know, because not only is it like a really good line from Pate of Longleaf, it's a good line, but it's also, narratively speaking, it gives, the audience or the reader a little bit more context as to why they didn't let Crispin Cole go out in a blaze of glory, why they didn't let him have a last, trial by combat, because they didn't want songs sung about how heroic he died. They weren't just killing him just to kind of be cruel. It was a statement. It was a statement as, no, you're not going to become a beacon for the enemy to rally around. So not having that final line in there, yes, it sucks because it's a cool line, but even narratively speaking, it just, I think, having that line in there just gives the audience much more context as to why they kind of just take him out super fast instead of giving him that last trial by combat. But right, I and that's kind of how it felt, right, Raven? Or the kids. Sometimes younger actors just don't quite have that nuance, that gravitas, as you say, to really deliver those lines in like a meaningful way. But I mean, it might just be a nitpick on my part, and that's totally fine. But I remember watching it, and I remember him saying that line, and I'm like, oh my god, man, like, because I remember when I read that line for the first time in the book. I was like, holy shit, like this is one of the best fucking lines of dialogue in the whole freaking book. This little dialogue piece surrounding the Butcher's Ball, or at least before the Butcher's Ball, the little parlay, that's some of the best dialogue that's written in Fire and Blood. But yeah, man, it's a good bookend. Absolutely. It's a really good bookend to Crispy's character. It just didn't end the same way. Exactly. I mean, it was nice to see him get kind of, I'm glad that they kind of kept the Butcher's Ball pretty much the same for the most part. Yes, they gave Crispy and his men that little skirmish in the beginning, before like the actual Butcher's Ball started. And I think that was just the writers kind of wanting Cole to kind of go out and like, not like a blaze of glory, but at least have like one last final good fight scene before they kind of just kill him off in a wicked anticlimactic way. Writers tend to do that every once in a while. If a character is going to get killed off in a very unsatisfying way, or a way that might seem kind of anticlimactic, sometimes they'll give them something kind of cool to do right before that happens. And I think that's why we got that little skirmish from, the Northmen and the Rivermen just pretending to be dead and then ambushing Cole and his men. I think they just wanted to give Cole and the actor playing Cole one last chance to have like a really cool little fight scene before they kind of exit. At least that's kind of how it read. But and it fits in line with the book as well, because in the book, when Cole and his men are marching, the Winter Wolves and the Rivermen, they're constantly kind of leaving like these weird traps, like these weird feasts of like dead men. Like it's huge, 100% psychological warfare in the book when the Rivermen and the Winter Wolves are like just picking at at Cole and his men. It's really it's really guerrilla warfare tactics type stuff. But yeah, man, it was good. It was good. It was a good ending for Cole. I just wish that they would have had that final line in there from Pate Longleaf. Again, Pate's not on the show, but they could have given that final line to, any one of those characters that were there. And I think it would have just added that little stamp on that scene and, giving the audience that kind of answer as to why they kind of just kill Cole super quick and they don't give him the chance to fight his way out. But yeah, interesting episode. Again, I feel like the Butcher's Ball, decent adaptation, but the rest of the episode from that point on, I feel like, some of the storylines I did enjoy, and some I'm kind of still processing and scratching my head a little bit in terms of why some of these decisions are happening. Like, I mean, just Rhaenyra sending Alicent to go kill Aemond. I mean, I don't know. For me, that was probably one of the weakest ones, I think, in episode 6, one of the weakest storylines. It's just a bad idea. It's just an all-around bad idea from conception. But we'll dive into it. We're going to dive into all of it. And it's funny. It looks like the title for episode 6 ended up being Faceless Men. I know there was, a lot of theories going around before episode 6 happened that the assassin, the Hightower assassin that was taking out all the gold cloaks, people thought that it was a faceless man, but it looks like that's not the case. Looks like it is not the case, not a faceless man, but it looks like the episode title was Faceless Men. But that is more, the Faceless Men title is more kind of symbolic for, the many faceless men that we start to see in the episode. Not the Braavosi faceless men, but men without a face in a different way. But yeah, here we go. Crispy Cole, good old Crispy going out. And again, they wanted to give him one last fight scene. I get it. I totally get it. You don't want to just have him get whacked with a bunch of arrows and not give him one final little kind of scene to showcase his skills. But yeah, I don't know. It just, the line from Oscar Tully just didn't land. It just didn't land for me. I just feel sometimes younger actors, again, they just don't always have the required nuance, to deliver, lines like that. But I don't know. Let's see if we can find it here.
I made a promise to the dead, Cole.
Yeah.
Order of justice. Come forth to hear your fate. If I strike my banners, will you spare my men their lives? I made a promise to the dead, Cole. I told them I'd build a sept out of traitors' bones. I don't have near enough bones yet.
Again, it's a great line. It's a great line of dialogue. I just think they had the wrong character say it. I think if they would have given that line to Tommy Flanagan, I just think it would have landed way freaking better. Way better and more impactful, more meaningful. But I get why they wanted to give it to Oscar Tully. It is technically his command. He is the one in charge of this army right now. But yeah, I don't know. Again, it could just be a nitpick on my part, and I know everybody has different opinions on stuff like this. But for me, sometimes young actors they're just not experienced enough yet to really deliver good dialogue like this at times. And I think that's kind of what we were seeing here. And Oscar Tully's, the actor playing Oscar Tully has been a good actor. It's not like he's a bad actor or anything. He's been great for his role. But sometimes, younger actors, they're kids. These are kids at the end of the day. They don't have the life experience, the world experience to deliver certain kind of emotion, certain nuances, or have things come across in a kind of, certain way. And that's just natural. It's just nature. They're just, by the nature of being younger. But I don't know. That was just my opinion. Just my opinion. I think this line would have been so much better if they would have given it to Roddy. And not only that, they've given Roddy the Ruin no lines. He's had no dialogue this whole season. And that's been a little bit disappointing considering how House of the Dragon, sometimes they do take these secondary characters and they flesh them out way more. Look at what they're doing with Ormond and Gwaine. They've really fleshed out Ormond and Gwaine pretty well, really well. They've turned them into actual characters. Where in the book, they're really footnotes. Ormond is not this kind of big main villain in the book, like he is on the show. He's not like that. But they've turned him into that kind of main villain for this season. I was hoping that they were going to do something not super similar with Roddy the Ruin, but at least maybe flesh the character out a little bit more to portray him as more than just a warrior. But I don't know. Again, tons of characters, not a lot of screen time. You have to kind of pick and choose, but a little disappointing that they're not giving Tommy Flanagan a little bit more to do. I mean, he's Tommy freaking Flanagan, for crying out loud, too. Just on principle alone, he's one of the best actors you have on this entire cast. Why are you not using him more? So that was one of my things. And again, that's probably my Stark bias as well, because I love House Stark. I just want to see more House Stark, so maybe I'm just biased. But I feel like they are underutilizing Tommy Flanagan this season. I'm excited to hear about the play. Yeah, we're definitely going to dive into the play. Absolutely. Are you referring to the theater play in London? I am. I am referring to the brand new play that just premiered over in the UK. And it is 100% in line with the book. Like, this play has nothing to do with the show canon. Everything that happens in the play is 100% book canon. Like, this all came right from George, and everything that is in the play is stuff that is either going to be revealed in his book, or stuff that is not going to be, or stuff that, you know, isn't going to be revealed that he completely confirmed that would have been revealed. Stuff that he probably couldn't fit, maybe, little stuff. But the big stuff that we get in the play, I imagine most of it will be in Winds of Winter, when we get a little bit more information on Robert's Rebellion and all of that. But we get a ton of it in this play, and I mean an absolute ton. A lot of confirmation for a lot of things. Rhaegar, Lyanna, the nature of their relationship, the nature of Rhaegar and Elia's relationship, the nature of Elia and Lyanna's relationship, which actually is a thing. They talk a little bit about Brandon Stark and Ashara Dane, and how they very much were a thing. That was very long theorized, that Ned Stark and Ashara Dane were kind of a thing. No, it was very much Brandon Stark and Ashara Dane were very much a thing. And they even go on to have a stillborn child. So there's so much that is confirmed in this play, and again, it's all 100% book canon. But yeah, we shall see. Let's see what else we got. Yeah, he deserved no honor and no trial by combat. And again, I think including that final line that Pate of Longleaf says in the book, it highlights that fact, right? I feel at least a little bit more. Where you get this definitive answer as to why, no, we're not going to give you the chance to go out in this blaze of glory. You haven't deserved that. After all the people you have killed, there are tens of thousands dead on your account, Kingmaker. I'll have no song sung about how heroically you died. So it's not just, them putting 3 hours in the guy and just taking him out in like a dishonorable manner for no reason. It's very calculated why they choose to kill Crispin that way, because they don't want his legend to grow. They don't want him to become this kind of symbol that the enemy can rally around, which he probably would have become, at the very least, had a chance to become. So yeah, again, having that last line from Pate, if they would have had that in the show, I think it would have just stamped the scene a little bit more and given the audience a little more context as to why they just put a bunch of arrows in him and don't even say much of anything. But yeah, that's the thing. And this is the thing with A Song of Ice and Fire and George's writing. He does this kind of thing all the time. Well, he'll set like a certain character up for something like super heroic, and then when it actually happens, it'll be incredibly anticlimactic. He set up for heroic death with Alicent's handkerchief. Then they took his warrior death away from him also. It's exactly the kind of style that, George kind of does. Build up, only for nothing to happen. But again, I think it was, it was a good scene. I think it was a good adaptation, apart from not having that last Pate of Longleaf line. And maybe if they could have given Oscar's line to Roddy the Ruin, just would have landed a little better. I told my non-book reader's son that line, and he was like, why didn't they use it? And that's what I've seen from most people as well. Like, most people that haven't read the book, like when they hear like, oh, that like there was an actual line that was left out, and they hear the line and they see the dialogue. I think a lot of people, book reader or non-book reader, I think most people would agree that line would have enhanced the scene so much more if it was in there. So yeah, even non-book readers are picking up on it. Like, okay, it would have just had a more complete feeling as a scene, I think. But it was still good. Didn't they do that after the fish feed, hiding among dead bodies? Yeah, that's what they did. Yeah, I mean, after the fish feed happens, you see kind of in the book, it's a little bit different than this. On the show, they almost kind of reverse the roles a little bit, where here on the show, we see Crispin Cole and his men start kind of enacting those guerrilla warfare tactics, burning their kind of, their camps at night, attacking and then, retreating, little stuff like that. In the book, it's the opposite way, where it's the Northmen and the Rivermen are doing that to Cole's army. Cole's army is marching through the Riverlands, and, the Winter Wolves and the Rivermen are just picking them off one by one with these kind of really kind of guerrilla warfare tactics. And yes, some of the tactics are kind of setting up these, feasts of a bunch of dead bodies, hiding among the dead bodies and ambushing them. Like, that's all the stuff that the Rivermen and the Northmen do in the book. But on the show, they kind of gave a little bit of that to Crispin Cole's kind of, just a little bit of that switch. But yeah, that is what happens in the book. Again, setting up whole feasts of just dead bodies at tables, just like on a fucking trail, just in the middle of fucking walking down the Riverlands. You come upon this just feast, this gnarly, grisly kind of scene that the Rivermen and the Northmen leave for Crispin Cole, right before an ambush or right at an ambush. So yeah, it's described pretty interesting in the book. It's very, very Westerosi, medieval guerrilla warfare, pretty much. I'd rather have scenes like the trap. They say like a huge battle most times. I mean, again, when I look at Game of Thrones and House of the Dragon and stuff and Night of the Seven Kingdoms, I feel like this show is usually at its best when it doesn't really need a battle. When it's just relying on just good characters, good dialogue, and a plot that's intriguing to the audience. And I think that's why Night of the Seven Kingdoms works so well. We didn't need a ton of action every episode because we just had really, really good, compelling characters and a really interesting plot line that made us invested. And I think Game of Thrones and just A Song of Ice and Fire in and of itself, I think that's when it's at its best. Yeah, the action's fun too. I mean, when we get a good action scene, a good battle scene, yeah, it's super fun to watch. But sometimes just narratively speaking, the show can be at its best when it's just two characters kind of, plotting. But I don't know. I think that's what made those first few seasons of Game of Thrones so freaking good, because there was just barely any action, just really, really good writing and good characters. But we'll see. Lots of people said that the placement of what we saw in the Butcher's Ball was placed in the wrong part of the episode, maybe because they premiered it at Comic-Con. I mean, they've definitely kind of swapped a lot of things here and there. And yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, that sounds like a perfectly well explanation if they did premiere it at Comic-Con. Maybe, I don't know. I am not sure myself, but it sounds possible. But we'll see. I'm interested in seeing what Alicent dreams about Harrenhal. Yeah, I wonder how Harrenhal is going to affect Alicent. That is a good question. I mean, we see what happened to Daemon in season 2. We're seeing what happens to Aemon when he's there. And we even talked about in this episode how, Rhaena spent a lot of time there. Not this Rhaena, but previous Queen Rhaena, who used to ride Dreamfire. Who, of course, laid a clutch of eggs at Harrenhal as well, which we get revealed in this episode too. But yeah, I guess that is a good question, right? What is Harrenhal going to do to Alicent? I mean, I have to imagine it's going to do something to her. I mean, I can't imagine she's has any less demons than Daemon and Aemon. So I imagine there's tons of stuff inside Alicent's head for Harrenhal to kind of prey on and pull to the surface and you kind of put her through the ringer with. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing that too. How exactly is Harrenhal going to screw with Alicent? Hopefully it screws with her pretty fucking well. Pretty bad. I think she needs it. Yeah, more like the Butcher's blunder. Yeah, and that's another line, another line that we don't get after the Butcher's Ball is done, which again, I really wish we would have had, Sir Garbled Grey on the show, because he's the one who delivers all of these really freaking good lines, like the one at the beginning. I've no song sung about how, that's Pay, excuse me. The one in the beginning about building the sept with, Traitor's Bones, like that's Garbled Grey. And then after it ends, he looks around and he's like, this wasn't a battle. This was butchery. So he has like these really freaking good lines in the book. So it's a shame that they didn't kind of put that character on the show. But what can you do? You can't have every character, I suppose. That is true. Do we get Crispy's head on a pike at Tumbleton? Good question. Good question. Are we going to see good old Crispy's head get slammed on a pike? I mean, we saw it happen to Jason Lannister, right? I mean, we saw what happened with him. They, the Winter Wolves took out Jason Lannister. I know we didn't get to see the actual battle, but we saw the aftermath, and we saw Roddy the Ruin kind of throw Jason's head to Daemon's feet. And then later on, the next episode, in episode 2, when we see Daemon and Roddy the Ruin and, all the Rivermen and Northmen celebrating that battle, we see good old Jason Lannister's head is right there on a pike.
I tell a tale of a fierce war. Like a lucky souls. 10,000 came, but we had more.
Press them to the bloody shore.
Now we can see the waters flow. Hey, hey, hey. because the legs fall off the bone.
There we go. Not just Jason's head, but we get the actual head of the lion right next to him as well. So yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. Will we actually see Krispy Kreme's head on a pike? I don't know. I feel like, again, when it comes to Tumbleton and the Battle of Tumbleton on the show, it's going to be a little bit different than it was in the book. In the book, the dragon seeds, Rhaenyra sends the dragon seeds to Tumbleton in the book, and they get there before Ormond. Like, Ormond doesn't take the town of Tumbleton in the book. Ormond is on his way marching towards to Tumbleton in the book, and Rhaenyra sends the dragon seeds there to kind of head him off, to kind of, because it's like the last stronghold that she's that she's in charge of, as before the advancing army. So in the book, it's a little bit different in terms of how it's set up. Like, again, Ormond never actually takes and seizes the town of Tumbleton like this. So yeah, I don't know. I'm not quite sure how they're going to play this. It looks like we're going to see more of a protracted siege style battle for the first Battle of Tumbleton on the show compared to in the book, where Ormond's already dug in. They've already been kind of building up their defenses, building their walls and everything. So I imagine it's going to be more of a siege style battle of Daemon and, Rhaenyra's forces, laying siege to Tumbleton. Because we do know that'll be another change from book to show. Daemon and Caraxes will be fighting in the Battle of Tumbleton. And that's a massive change. Massive change. Daemon and Caraxes do not fight in this battle in the book. But I don't mind it. I don't mind seeing a little more Daemon. And I feel like we haven't seen anywhere near enough Caraxes this season. And that's just a damn shame. Caraxes is the most badass dragon out of all of them. And we have not seen the Red Worm much. Lyanna Mormont got away with it. See, and then that's the thing. Some child actors can, deliver those really profound lines, and I think that was actually a good example of a younger actor being able to nail a good line like that. The actress that played Lyanna Mormont did like that. That actually came across really well in that show. Here with Oscar, I don't know. I just don't think it landed as well. But yeah, definitely would have liked to see some more Roddy the Ruin. Yeah. Would have liked to see some more Roddy Ruin. Tumbleton would probably be the climax. Jim Clay and the team built like 3/4 of an acre on set to the studio. I know, right? Yeah, they built pretty much like a whole town, it looks like. That's awesome. So yeah, if you're building something that big, yeah, I have to imagine that that's going to be the big set piece in episode 8. And we are hearing Tumbleton's going to come in the final episode anyway. So I imagine episode 7 is going to be just, setting up the Battle of Tumbleton, Daemon and his forces heading north, probably getting outside the city walls, stuff probably stirring up with Hugh and Ulf the White and the dragon seeds. We're still not quite sure how that's going to play on the show compared to in the book, because just considering that this whole battle seems to be shaping up a lot different than it was in the book. But I want to see what's going to go on with the dragon seeds. I don't want to spoil anything as to what happens for anyone who hasn't read the book, but the dragon seeds play a very vital role. I'll just say that. Very important role in the first Battle of Tumbleton, in terms of like what they do during the battle. So I wonder how that's going to go down on the show. What's going to be the explanation for that? How is it going to happen? Why is it going to happen? All that. That's what I want to see, because I have to imagine it's going to be a lot different. And we don't ever really get an explanation in the book when we see, some of these scenes. We don't really get an explanation for why, some of the things happened. It just happens. We never get an answer. So I have to imagine the show will flesh it out a little bit more. If they even choose to go that route, I mean, I guess is, the question. They might do something totally different with the dragon seeds for the Battle of Tumbleton on the show. Maybe it's going to be different. Who knows? But they should be playing a pretty big role. Regardless, we'll see. We shall see. Yeah, I was surprised how much they're packing into the play. Me too. They packed a ton into that play. An absolute ton. And again, I have a list of all of it, just about every pretty much big thing that they revealed. And we're going to take a look at it. We are going to take a look at it too. I was going to rewatch episodes 5 and 6 and work on a new video, but I'm trying to hang with my friends here instead. Well, that is awesome, the Dragonfire. Oh, and if anyone isn't subscribed to the Dragonfire, if you're doing some videos on House of the Dragon, everyone definitely get over there and sub to the Dragonfire's channel as well. Awesome stuff. Awesome stuff. And yeah, I was going to do my episode 7 trailer breakdown video tonight, but I figured, I got done with things a little bit early. I'll come on here. We'll do a bit of a stream, and I'll work on my video later. But yeah, we'll see. It would have been awesome if they would have put a lot of arrows in that scumbag Jon Snow the way before he hurt the true Queen Daenerys. Oof. Yeah, again, Jon Snow killing Daenerys is still a big hot button issue for a lot of people, for sure, depending on which side of it you land. You got Jon Snow fans, and then you got Daenerys fans, both of which will defend each side to the bitter end, which is always a fun discussion. Let's see. Oh, but yeah, Crusader Danny. I vaguely remember this. Yeah. I was the one who told you I would have loved to see a Baratheon TV show 2 weeks ago. Look at us now, huh? I mean, it feels like we got one, isn't it? It does. And me too. I would love a Robert's Baratheon spinoff show. Young Ned, young Robert, and not only young Ned and young Robert, but we would be seeing tons of characters from the original Game of Thrones show in their younger versions, and that would be really fun to see. So no, I would love to get a Robert's Rebellion TV show one day. That would be really fun. That would be really fun. But yeah, I wonder what Rhaenyra has planned for Helaena while Alicent is away. Yeah, again, I think that's starting to heat up a little bit. I think Rhaenyra was willing to kind of just let Helaena kind of just chill, do her own thing. But now that Rhaenyra has found out that, Helaena is indeed pregnant, she kind of has to lock her down. She can't afford really anymore to just let Helaena just wander around. If someone sees that Helaena is showing at some point, that presents a massive problem for Rhaenyra, a problem that she would most likely have to solve by killing Helaena just to secure her line. It's whether Rhaenyra would want to do it or not. It's something she would at least have to consider. So yeah, I don't know. I guess I'm not expecting Helena's storyline to be similar on the show as it was in the book. In terms of like what she does, I don't know, maybe. But I don't know. I just have a feeling it's going to play out a little bit differently. I wouldn't be surprised if this pregnancy storyline that Helaena has going on, if that ends up being the end of her. I mean, what if she doesn't survive her pregnancy? I could see that being a possibility. I get the feeling Helena's end is going to be a lot different on the show, or her storyline. If she even dies, I mean, she might survive. She might be one of the few that survives. They've changed her character drastically in terms of book to show. So I wouldn't be surprised if they changed what happens to her from book to show as well. But yeah, I don't know. I think the Helaena thing and the Rhaenyra thing, I don't know. I think, if anything, what was more interesting was seeing what Helaena was embroidering in that episode, which was pretty freaking nuts. It looks like we have the, what seems to be a symbolic depiction of Aemond at Harrenhal. And that was pretty interesting, seeing Helaena, because we know that Helaena is a dragon dreamer. We know that she has already seen what's going to happen at Harrenhal. She's seen the God's Eye. So I wonder, so I thought that was pretty cool, if nothing else. A little wink and a little foreshadowing, I guess, of, what some of the things that Helaena has seen. I thought that was good. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see where Helaena goes. Yeah, also will dream of 100 Larrys that she has no shoes. Oh, that's nightmarish. That is nightmare fuel. Absolutely nightmare fuel. Definitely will see his head on a pike. Alicent will roll up on her way. And that would be pretty funny to see. I'm not going to lie. I wouldn't mind seeing that. I would definitely not mind seeing that. That could happen for sure. Was that blood magic Alice was performing, you think? That's what a lot of people were discussing, because, I mean, we saw that right before Alice went to grab the dragon eggs, she just so happened to kill that poor stable boy with her, by herself. His blood still on her hands. And a lot of people were wondering, okay, was that technically going to be a necessary sacrifice for these dragon eggs to eventually hatch? Because we see that there's actually blood, she kind of puts the blood on the dragon egg. Just by picking it up. So a lot of people were wondering if that was going to be some form of blood magic, some sort of hatching of the eggs. I don't know. I don't think so. I think it's more just symbolic, really. I like the symbolism of it. But I'm not really convinced that these eggs are going to hatch or anything like that. But in terms of Alice kind of maybe unwittingly doing a little bit of blood magic there, I mean, again, she did just kind of kill that kid 2 seconds before kind of putting that blood, that blood on those eggs. So I don't know. I think it's an interesting topic, and I definitely understand why there's so many people talking about that specific kind of scene in particular, and what it might mean going forward. But definitely let me know what you guys think as well. When you saw the scene of Alice Rivers and just that storyline in general, I guess that's definitely a question I'd love to post to you guys in the chat. Where do you think that storyline is ultimately going to go? Now that Alice Rivers has revealed this clutch of eggs that Dreamfire laid, what exactly is going to happen? Do you guys see these dragon eggs hatching? Or do you see them becoming more kind of symbolic? I saw some people even wondering, like, oh, are these Daenerys' eggs? And I don't think that's possible. I mean, just based on the look of them, on the color of them, it doesn't look like they are Daenerys' eggs. But I don't know. You never know what the show is going to do. You never know what this show is going to tie into Game of Thrones and vice versa. But I don't know. I'm not really sure what they're going to be doing with that. I don't know. I don't know about the whole Dreamfire laying eggs at Harrenhal thing. But I don't know. We'll see. We shall see. Yeah, Ulf is on par with the book, but Hugh isn't quite the same guy. Absolutely. I mean, yeah, Ulf is 100% Ulf the Sot. And he's very much like that in the book. All he wants to do is drink at taverns with his friends and show off his dragon. So he's remained pretty, faithful in terms of an adaptation. But yeah, Hugh, they've really kind of made Hugh like a proper character. We don't really know anything about Hugh in the book other than the fact that he's a blacksmith. We don't know if he has a family. We don't get any kind of details like that about Hugh in the book. But here they gave him a full-on family, a wife, a son, family in Tumbleton, very much tying him even closer to that Tumbleton storyline. And I think, a lot of people are wondering if Hugh's family are going to play some sort of part in the Battle of Tumbleton, or if if his family's going to get used against him in some kind of way. I think they are kind of perfectly setting it up for something like that to maybe happen. For Hugh to kind of maybe be forced to do something he maybe doesn't want to do to protect his family, where he's kind of forced to choose between his family or Rhaenyra, maybe. I don't know. But I'm looking forward to seeing what they're going to do, because they have kind of changed the character of Hugh, a good deal from book to show. And I don't mind that at all. Especially when you have an actor like Kieran Bugh, who I actually really like. I think Kieran Bugh is actually a pretty good actor. I'm totally for giving his character a little bit more kind of some more layers, fleshing it out a little more. But we'll see. We'll see. Ooh, I think Alice is Melisandre. Man, I mean, technically Melisandre would be alive right around now at this point. When the Dance of the Dragons is going on, Melisandre would technically be alive somewhere in the world. But yeah, I think there's been a lot of people drawing those connections and those parallels between Alice Rivers and Melisandre from the very beginning. And for many reasons. I mean, these two characters are very, very similar in terms of the kind of function that they serve within the show, the kind of magical, mystical kind of aspect to it. So yeah, I don't know. I don't think she's actually Melisandre. But then again, you never know what this freaking show is going to do. The show is no problem changing like really, really fundamental things about the source material. So who knows? Maybe. We'll see. We shall see. I'll die on that hill of how the writers ruined Daenerys. I was absolutely bothered. No, I'm with you too. I think they ruined the character of Daenerys. There is I mean, if you want to make a character go from main hero to main villain, there are plenty of ways to do that, and plenty of ways to do that where it looks super freaking compelling. They just didn't do that. They didn't take the time to set that up properly. They didn't take the time to fully flesh out this turn that Daenerys was ultimately going to have. So again, I don't mind, in theory, in concept, the idea of, you know, a heroic character turning villain, but you have to do it in a right way. It has to be believable. We have to see some of these things happen that make this character go from A to B. It can't just kind of be at the flip of a hat. We can't just see it, have a character hear some freaking bells and all of a sudden she just turns into the ultimate freaking villain. Like that's just not believable, especially for the kind of character that Daenerys was. I think she needed a little bit more writing, a little bit more development there in terms of setting her, you know, kind of villain arc up. It just seemed, it was just too drastic. It felt like freaking whiplash watching that damn episode, seeing her just switch so freaking fast. And I get what they were trying to do with, you know, her watching, you know, Missandei's head get cut off and her watching Jorah get killed. It's like they tried, but they just didn't spend enough time doing those things. They needed to set those things up a lot earlier. They needed to show Daenerys getting isolated a little bit earlier and a lot more profound, more and more and more. It just seems like they kind of did it haphazardly with like just a few small scenes to indicate like, oh, the turn's coming. And it just wasn't earned. It wasn't warranted and it wasn't set up well. So I agree with you. I think they ruined the character of Daenerys. And I think they ruined the character of Jon a little bit as well, kind of just, you know, with his part in it. But what are you going to do? What are you going to do? The blunders that are Game of Thrones Season 8, man, we could be here for a 12-hour stream and we wouldn't be able to cover all of them probably. Man, oh man, oh man. Yeah, she could be Melisandre. I'm not ruling it out. She could be Melisandre's mentor. I mean, you can't really rule anything out. That is definitely one thing. You can't rule anything out when it comes to House of the Dragon, because we've seen that they have, you know, they have no problem kind of just doing their own narrative every once in a while and switching something up. So just because Alice Rivers and Melisandre are, you know, two different characters in the book doesn't necessarily mean the show is going to follow that. Again, I think she's just Alice Rivers, but you never know. You definitely can't rule anything out when it comes to this writing team. That's for sure. But we'll see. We shall see. Off topic, but we're supposed to get some type of blood magic in Seven Kingdoms Season 2. I mean, I cannot wait for another Seven Kingdoms Season 2 so freaking much, man. Like that's probably the show I'm looking forward to the most. Like probably outside of Shogun Season 2. Another Seven Kingdoms Season 2 and Severance Season 3. Those are probably the two shows I'm looking forward to seeing the freaking most. But yeah, I think another Seven Kingdoms Season 2 is going to be interesting. I mean, I don't want to say it's a little slower than the first book, the second book. It's definitely not anywhere near as much like happening, I guess you could say. The first book is set up really well, like, you know, with Dunk and Egg meeting and then, you know, it being set up around this kind of tourney, and then kind of Dunk getting in trouble, having to kind of go into the trial by 7. Like it's a really well narrative the way it's fleshed out. The second book is a little slower. Not a ton happens. There's some good stuff. Don't get me wrong. It's not like nothing happens. But I think the third book, I think Season 3, is probably going to be the season that people are going to like really, really like the most in terms of like what happens in Season 3 and the third book for Dunk and Egg. But yeah, we might be getting a little blood magic in Season 2 of Night of Seven Kingdoms, and we're going to be getting Dunk's long hair as well. That was one thing a lot of people were talking about in Season 1, that they didn't, that they wanted to see Dunk with like the book accurate long hair. And it looks like we are going to get book accurate long hair Dunk in Season 2. Peter Claffey has grown out his own hair super, super, super freaking long. And yeah, we're going to get regular long hair Dunk, guys. Regular long hair Dunk. But all right, let's dive into some of this stuff, shall we? Now, all right, we're going to look at the episode 7 trailer, but I know there are some of you that definitely want to know a little bit more about the Mad King play and all of the stuff that was revealed in the play. So we'll go through that really quick, and then we'll go right into the episode 7 trailer. So let me pull it up here. And here we have a list of everything that happened in the Mad King play. A lot of stuff was revealed, like just absolutely craziness in terms of all the stuff that was revealed here. And yeah, we're going to go through it. we are going to go through some of it, all of it, and see what we can see, and let me know what you guys think. Again, a lot of big confirmations here. Okay, spoiler warning just for anyone who maybe doesn't want to know these things, but if you're here, I'm sure you want to discuss them. But here we have the first one. Lyanna Stark confirmed as the Knight of the Laughing Tree. Now, this is something that I think, many fans have been talking about for a very long time, been theorizing for a very long time. And here we just get the confirmation that it was very much Lyanna Stark dressed up, pretending to be this Knight of the Laughing Tree and teaching those squires a lesson. We kind of always figured that was her, but now we get the confirmation. 100% her. Up next, we have Lyanna gets together with Rhaegar of her own free will. This first act ends with them having a conversation under the weirwood tree after she's been crowned Queen of Love and Beauty. Now that's what happens. That's right after the tourney. We get this, this really famous tourney where Rhaegar wins the tourney, and very controversially, instead of giving the kind of title, the crown of Queen of Love and Beauty to his own wife, who he's married to at the time, and Elia Martell, he instead rides right past his wife and hands the roses and gives the title to Lyanna Stark. And that just causes so much gossip from the very beginning in terms of because it's so unheard of to see, a crown prince like Rhaegar just ride right past his own freaking wife and, crown another woman the Queen of Love and Beauty. So that really kind of kicked off a lot of the rumor mill and the gossips and stuff. There's rumors that Robert Baratheon kind of just laughed it off, because at this time, Robert Baratheon and Lyanna were betrothed. They were set to get married to each other. They were already kind of betrothed together. So there are kind of rumors that Robert kind of just laughed it off. But other rumors that Robert was actually really pissed about this. Like, this really got under Robert's skin, seeing this freaking Rhaegar walk up to the woman that he's getting ready to marry and dubbing her the Queen of Love and Beauty. So a lot of people believe that was the beginning of the real rivalry between Robert and Rhaegar and what it would eventually turn into. And I think that makes sense. And if George is confirming that here in this play, I think it makes even more sense. But yeah, good confirmation there. And again, Lyanna and Rhaegar getting together of their own free will is another thing that we've been waiting for some confirmation on. In the book, the official narrative is that Rhaegar kidnaps Lyanna and sexually abuses her, and that is what leads to the birth of Jon Snow. That's the rumor. We don't know how that rumor got started. We don't know where that kind of story came from, but a lot of people have suspected that that story wasn't true. A lot of people have believed that Rhaegar and Lyanna just fell in love and ran away together. And it looks like that is the case here, that Lyanna gets together with Rhaegar of her own free will. She wasn't kidnapped. She wasn't assaulted or anything like that. We do get that confirmation. And that's a big one. This has been a huge thing in the A Song of Ice and Fire fandom for so freaking long. The actual dynamic, what really happened between Rhaegar and Lyanna. Fans have wanted to know the truth for so many years. And now we have it. Now we have the definitive truth that Rhaegar did not kidnap her. They got together of their own free will. So again, a lot of confirmation here. Let's see what else we get. We get a little bit more of, we actually get a lot of, characterization for Elia Martell, surprisingly enough. Elia Martell, we don't learn a ton about in the book. We know who she is, of course, the sister of Oberyn Martell. But here in this play, it seems like they really kind of give a lot of characterization to Elia Martell and paint what kind of character she was. And it's way different than a lot of us thought. Like, she's a way different character than we thought she was going to be. Starting off with stuff like this, Elia is an active participant in Rhaegar's plans to remove Aerys from the throne. Half of it is her idea. So we're hearing now that Elia wasn't just along for the ride. She was coming up with some of this stuff. Her and Rhaegar were planning this together. And she was very much on board for dethroning Ares, because at this point in time, Ares was becoming crazier and crazier and crazier and more unstable. And everybody saw that Rhaegar seemed to be, of sound mind and body. He seemed to be kind, just, courteous. He seemed to be one of the good Targaryens. So a lot of people really wanted Ares gone so Rhaegar could eventually take over. And it seems like Rhaegar in secret was planning to do this, was planning to dethrone his own father. So we're getting a lot. Yeah, I believe it. She's Dornish after all, Oberyn's sister. I mean, if anyone knows how to cook up a good plot, it's the Dornish. They are incredibly good at strategizing. I mean, they are absolutely. I don't know. I thought this was pretty interesting because they give a lot of characterization to Elia here in this play, like a freaking ton. But let's continue. Up next, we have Ares knows about Rhaegar's plans and has a confrontation with him when he literally offers his neck and tells him to kill him. After Rhaegar doesn't, Ares makes fun of him and calls him a coward. So we have an actual little altercation here between Rhaegar and his dad Ares. And this is when Ares is already a little bit more on the freaking crazy side. So I can just picture that scene, a Mad King Ares coming up to Rhaegar and just like taunting him, giving him his neck, taunting him to kill him, and then making fun of him when he doesn't, calling him a coward, craven. I could just see Mad King Ares doing that with Rhaegar, and you can totally see why, Rhaegar maybe would have considered overthrowing his own father. Not only was he a bad ruler, but he was a bad father as well. But very interesting reveal. But then we get this. Robert is actually portrayed very sympathetically and is actively grieving his parents. At one point, Ares gifts him a model of his parents' ship, which is just some splinters in a box of water. Now, again, I think it's interesting that they are portraying Robert very sympathetically, especially when it comes to the loss of his parents. Like, that's actually a big kind of moment in Robert Baratheon's life, where he's standing on the shores of Storm's End and he's watching his parents' ship just get shipwrecked right in front of him. Like, he watches his parents die in front of him as their ship goes down. And it's a hugely traumatic moment for him. It would be for anybody. So I like that they're kind of highlighting that in the play, and they're showing that Robert isn't just this kind of bloodthirsty warrior that just wants revenge. He's actually like a sympathetic character that has multiple layers, because he does. Robert's more than just a warrior and just someone that wants revenge. So that was good. And then we get this interesting confirmation. Brandon Stark and Ashara Dane confirmed, or at least very heavily implied. Now, this was, I thought, crazy. If we were going to get anything from Ashara Dane, I was really hoping it was going to be Ned, and because there's been those rumors that Ned and Ashara Dane, or Ned had a thing for Ashara Dane ever since that one feast, where Ned was too afraid to ask Ashara to dance, so Brandon asks her for him. He has that dance with her. But I was always hoping that there was going to be maybe something like that there, but nope. It looks like we are 100% getting, or not 100%, but heavily implied that Brandon and Ashara Dane were very much a thing. We get a little bit more on them later on as well. Some more details on Brandon and Ashara and what happens with their relationship. Now here, this is something that has been long theorized by many, many fans for a very long time, and that is Rhaegar is plagued by dragon dreams. And I think that's something that a lot of us have been anticipating. I mean, when we look at Rhaegar and we look at how obsessed with the prophecy that he was, the prince that was promised prophecy, he was so determined to fulfill that prophecy. For a while, he thought he was the prince that was promised, and then he learns that the prince that was promised is going to come from his line. So he starts kind of maneuvering all these pieces around to try and fulfill that prophecy. He's trying to force the prophecy into existence, which never goes well. But here we do see that he was a dragon dreamer, and that is where he was getting all of these ideas from. He's been getting dragon dreams from the very beginning. At one point, he specifically mentions a dream about a three-headed dragon with Lyanna there. Puppetry is used to show his dreams to the audience, and there's a really cool dragon puppet. Okay, so again, we had a feeling something like this might be possible when it comes to Rhaegar, him being a dragon dreamer. So this confirmation, I don't think is a big surprise. But yeah, he shares it with Lyanna, and I wouldn't be surprised if that is part of what convinces Lyanna of the prince that was promised, and that, you know, she was vital to it as well. Elia and Rhaegar's marriage is shown to be cordial. He confides in her about his dragon dreams, and that was another thing about Elia and Rhaegar's marriage that was kind of always portrayed or implied that it wasn't like a really good marriage. That you know, they weren't like that. Rhaegar didn't really love Elia. But it seems like here they're painting them much more as partners, as people as a couple that was, you know, doing this together and you know, relying on each other for counsel. So it definitely paints Elia and Rhaegar's marriage in a much different light, I feel. But yeah, of course he's confiding in Elia about all the dragon dreams as well. And it seems like Elia was an active like participant in helping Rhaegar plan for the prince that was promised. And that includes Elia being totally okay with Rhaegar and Lyanna hooking up. Like, she was fine with it. And we'll see that here in a minute. Lyanna and Rhaegar are in love, and she runs away with him willingly. Lyanna is also confirmed Green Seer and communicates with Rhaegar via dreams. That's how they plan their elopement. And Benjen helps them. This was one of the biggest fucking reveals, I think, out of all of the stuff that we got. This was massive. Absolutely massive. I think it makes sense that Benjen helped out as well. Benjen and Lyanna were always super fucking close. So this makes perfect freaking sense to me. Lyanna and Rhaegar confirmed to be in love. It wasn't some kidnapping. It wasn't some, you know, sexual abuse or anything like that. They were straight up in love, and they ran away together willingly, which is, you know, a lot of us kind of had a feeling that was going to be the case anyway. I don't think a lot of us bought this whole narrative of Rhaegar kidnapping Lyanna. It just didn't make sense. It didn't really fit with the kind of character that we knew Rhaegar to be. Rhaegar, again, has been portrayed to be one of the better Targaryens, one that's actually just, that cares about the people, that, you know, that wants to kind of do good. So him, you know, the idea of him kidnapping Lyanna just never made sense to me. So here we get that confirmation. That was never the case. They were very much in love, and they ran away together. But Lyanna being confirmed to be a Green Seer, communicating with Rhaegar via dreams, and that's how they planned their freaking elopement, and Benjen helping them, man, that's big. That's freaking big. Yeah, they're psychically connected. They are absolutely psychically connected. I mean, again, if Lyanna was a Green Seer, then that just opens so many doors for her character in so many freaking different ways. I don't know what George is going to do with this in the book. How much, you know, this is going to, you know, what kind of a narrative some of these reveals are going to play in the actual Winds of Winter, if it ever comes out. But this is massive. This paints Lyanna in a again, it paints all of these characters in a totally different light. I had no idea that this play was going to be dropping this much freaking shit. I figured we'd get some confirmation for a few things here and there. Never in a million years would I have thought we would have gotten this much information from this play. This is crazy. But yeah, Lyanna confirmed Green Seer. Rhaegar and Lyanna confirmed to run away together. Was no kidnapping, and Benjen helped them freaking do it. Good old Benjen Stark. I thought this was crazy. This was a really good reveal. Really, and again, them communicating via dreams. Man, and it just makes me wonder, like, how powerful of a Green Seer was Lyanna. Like, if she had mastered it enough where she was able to control it, to be able to control her dreams and communicate with Rhaegar through their dreams, that tells me that she had a good degree of control over her Green Seer abilities. So that's what I want to see. How advanced of a Green Seer was Lyanna if she was able to do stuff like this? This makes her into a totally different character. Totally fucking different. But next we have Elia and Lyanna become pen pals while Leah is at the Tower of Joy. Elia doesn't mind that Rhaegar and Lyanna relationship and mentions the idea of having two wives, like Aegon the First, one for love, one for politics. So Elia is like straight up, like so much different than we thought. The relationship between Elia and Rhaegar, so much different than we thought. Elia was actually not only on board with all of this, but Elia was actively helping Rhaegar plan all of this. Elia had no problem that Rhaegar and Lyanna were hooking up. She encouraged it, for crying out loud. Hell, they became pen pals. Crazy. I mean, I just, Lyanna Stark is up in the Tower of Joy getting ready to kind of give birth to Jon Snow, and she's pen palling back and forth with Elia Martell. Like, that's the picture we have now. So that's funny. That's just fucking funny. Crazy. These are some crazy reveals, guys. Holy shit. As I mentioned, Elia and Lyanna are pen pals. One of their ravens is intercepted by Varys, and that's how he discovers Rhaegar's location, and Gerald Hightower is sent to find him. Okay, so now we find out all of that. How some of the Kingsguard find Rhaegar, why, and I guess this explains why when Ned Stark arrives at the Tower of Joy, why Gerald Hightower and just two other Kingsguard are there. Varys intercepts the Raven. So again, we're getting good kind of context and setup for some of these major events that happened during Robert's Rebellion. Like, again, this famously leads to that massive duel between Ned Stark and Arthur Dayne. So yeah, again, we're getting a lot of context here, guys. We're getting a lot of freaking stuff. We are getting so much stuff. And again, this is all 100% book canon, right in line with the book. None of this has anything to do with the shows or anything like that. This is 100% Winds of Winter book canon we are getting here. And that is awesome. And it also says, again, Elia is painted in a way different light now. We also hear here that Elia is very politically shrewd, and while her marriage to Rhaegar is cordial, she sees it as one of convenience. Her main interest is making sure House Martell is in power. So that's pretty interesting. Elia, even, with everything that happened, she's very much loyal to House Martell. And even though she is Rhaegar's wife, she wants to position herself and House Martell to be in a place of strength. So that's pretty interesting how her ultimate loyalty has always lied with House Martell. Yet she does help Rhaegar along the lines of, kind of trying to bring this prophecy to life. So this is great. Again, massive, massive reveals we're getting here. Okay, now here we see the deaths of Rickard and Brandon. That's Rickard and Brandon Stark, which is Ned Stark's older brother and Ned Stark's father. Although there's no actual fire involved, because at least in this performance, it's a pit of smoke lit up green, which again makes sense. It's a play. Of course, there's not going to be real fire involved. It's a play. But it looks like they did portray the deaths of Ned's father and brother in the play as well. The only explicit childbirth scene is Ashara giving birth to Brandon's stillborn child. Elia and Lyanna's childbirths are not shown. We just see Lyanna's water breaking at the Tower of Joy, and Elia goes into labor at Harrenhal. Okay, so a little bit of stuff here. Again, finding out that Ashara Dayne and Brandon Stark had a stillborn child, that's a pretty interesting reveal that I wasn't expecting. And again, it gives us a lot more context as to why Ashara goes on to do what she does later on, why she becomes so depressed, so somber. It seems like Ashara and Brandon really were a thing, like they really were in love. Very interesting. Very, very, very interesting. I don't know, man. A lot of big reveals here. And again, Elia and Lyanna's childbirth, they're not shown actually in the play. They just kind of see Lyanna's water breaking at the Tower of Joy, Elia going into labor at Harrenhal, but not an actual birth scene, but very much implied, it seems like. And this is another interesting tidbit. There is no secret marriage between Rhaegar and Lyanna, and no naming Jon as Aegon. Thank freaking God. I'm so glad that was a show thing only, and that's not going to be like an actual book thing. Because I think a lot of us really didn't want Jon's real name to be Aegon. It just too on the freaking nose. We got too many Aegonses ready. I want Jon's real name to be more of, I hope it's Jaehaerys, really. I think Jon would be a Jaehaerys. I think that'd be the best name for him. But I'm glad that we're finding out here that this is a little bit different. In the show, we did see that one flashback scene that showed Rhaegar and Lyanna actually getting married, under a weirwood, like 100% getting married, and even annulled his marriage to Elia in the show. But here in the book, we're getting a totally different picture of all of this. No Rhaegar and Lyanna marriage ever happens in the book. And they do not name Jon Snow Aegon. I could not be happier with that. Again, I don't think Jon should have the name of Aegon at all. I wouldn't mind Aemon either. I wouldn't mind Aemon. I think that would be good. I wouldn't mind Jon as an Aemon. And I think that would add some interesting kind of parallels between all of the time that Jon spent with Maester Aemon up at the Night's Watch. I think that would actually be very fitting if his true name was Aemon. I don't mind that at all. Yeah, or is it Aegon? Aegon. Yep, it was Aegon. Yeah, Jon, still a bastard. Still a bastard. Indeed. And again, I think Jon Snow's character is always going to be better as a bastard rather than the, true heir to the Iron Throne. That's not who Jon Snow is. That's never who Jon Snow has been. Jon Snow has always been a bastard. He's always identified with being a bastard. That's just who he is. Not just what he is. That's who he is. So I'm kind of glad that they kind of went this way. So yeah, I like it. Yeah, fucking Aegon. It's not Aegon, it's Aegon. So yeah, Jon Snow is not named Aegon in the book. Lots of fight scenes for the war with extensive puppetry. Rhaegar. Okay, now this is an interesting part right here. Rhaegar has a dragon dream in the middle of his battle with Robert at the Trident, which seemingly distracts him enough for Robert to kill him. This is massively different from what we were led to believe from the book in the Battle of the Trident that happens between Robert and Rhaegar. This is just way freaking different. And I'm again, on one hand, it's interesting, but on the other hand, I'm not too sure how much I like this reveal, because this kind of paints it as though maybe Robert only won because Rhaegar got distracted, when really Robert is a way better warrior than Rhaegar ever could have hoped to be. Robert doesn't need Rhaegar to be distracted to beat him one-on-one combat. Robert would always beat Rhaegar in one-on-one combat. So I'm not too sure if I like this change too much, but I do think it's pretty interesting that Rhaegar had a freaking dragon dream in the middle of his duel with Robert in the Trident, and that's what distracts him long enough to get killed. If that isn't the most Targaryen thing I've ever heard in my life, I don't know what is. Having a dragon dream in the middle of a duel and then getting killed because of it, that is full on the most Targaryen thing I've ever heard. 100%. But again, I don't know. As funny as it kind of is, I don't know if I like the way that it paints Robert, because I feel like Robert, he's been, and again, maybe some of the things we've been led to believe about Robert aren't as true as well. We've been led to believe that Robert is one of the best warriors to ever fight, one of the strongest men that has ever been in the Seven Kingdoms. We don't actually get that kind of view on the show because they have Mark Addy playing Robert Baratheon. But in the book, Robert Baratheon's closer to the Mountain's fucking size. He's massive. And I guess in the play, Robert Baratheon is portrayed by like an 8-foot giant freaking puppet, like a giant, massive puppet they use to portray Robert Baratheon. And that's much more book accurate. Again, Robert is a massive, massive individual in the book. But yeah, I mean, I think this is pretty interesting. Rhaegar kind of having this dragon dream. I would love to know what was the specific dragon dream that came to him at this moment. You are in the middle of a fight for your life, not just a fight for your life, but this fight is going to determine whether or not you're going to be able to fulfill this entire prophecy. This isn't just your life on the line here for Rhaegar. This is everything on the line. What kind of dragon dream could have been forced into his brain at that specific time? What could have been so vital that he needed to see it right then and there that it got him freaking killed? That's the question I have now. What was the specific dragon dream that Rhaegar saw during the Battle of the Trident? What did he see that distracted him? Did he see his own death, maybe? I don't know. Maybe he saw his own death, and it literally caused his own death. I don't know. Maybe Robert was off his game due to the death of his parents and the loss of Lyanna. And not just that, but Robert was actually a little bit wounded as well. If we remember a little bit before that, Robert was kind of hiding from town to town and just barely making it from town to town as the Mad King's forces were hunting him down because he had suffered a really nasty wound in one of the battles. So Robert wasn't like 100%. So maybe that can kind of excuse it a little bit, that Robert maybe just wasn't fully on his game. I can buy that. Again, he was injured pretty bad. I don't know. This is some crazy stuff. And then, Robert was rumored to get injured in the battle with Rhaegar even more, to the point where he had to send Ned to go to King's Landing to take the throne in his stead because Robert couldn't go himself. Again, there's some interesting stuff there, some very interesting stuff there. I think it makes a little bit of sense. Again, I believe it was John Connington, that even injured Robert. It's been a while since I've read, but something tells me it was John, I think. And Robert was kind of hiding out in that church, and he almost gets caught. And he also gets wounded in the battle with Rhaegar, and that's why he kind of can't go to King's Landing and finish the campaign. So he sends Ned. And when Ned gets there, he gets into the Iron Throne room and he sees Jaime Lannister sitting on the Iron Throne with Mad King Aerys dead at the bottom of the throne. Again, Robert's Rebellion just reads like one of the most badass fucking shows that we could ever possibly get. Like, if there's anything that they ever need to adapt, it is Robert's Rebellion. Especially now with all this awesome new stuff we're getting here. This is crazy. Fucking Rhaegar having a dragon dream in the middle of the Battle of the Trident and it fucking distracts him enough to get him killed. What the fuck? Like, how bad can your luck be? How fucking bad can your luck be that you are getting a prophetic futuristic vision in the middle of a one-on-one fight for your fucking life? Oh man, poor Rhaegar. That's bad luck. That is bad luck for Rhaegar. We do, right? We need a show, Blue. Blue, we need a show. We need a Robert's Rebellion show stat. Although I don't know if we'll ever get one now that we're getting all this definitive stuff. Yeah, it was John Conn, right? Okay, I for some reason I remembered it being John Connington. That injured him. He actually injures him pretty well, to the point where Robert legit has to hide for a while. Again, that could explain maybe why Robert wasn't fully on his game against Rhaegar. That makes sense. It's excusable, definitely excusable. Rhaegar had a Taco Bell lettuce at the drive-in. Yeah, it just came pouring out of him, man. He just couldn't stop it. He just could not stop it. Oh, man. This is crazy. This is absolutely crazy. All right, just a few more. We're getting down to the final few. Aerys hates Elia and says vile insults to her. He calls her I don't even want to repeat it, but he calls her a Dornish mongrel bee to her face, and also says, Rhaegar, I smell the stench of that Dornish bee on you. Wow, so they are really portraying that Aerys fucking hates Elia. Wow, okay. He does not like Elia. Shit. All right, let's see what else we got. Robert wins the melee at Harrenhal, beating Oberyn and the Mountain. The Mountain is played by multiple actors, as he is entirely a puppet about 8 feet tall. The Mountain's one is about 8 feet tall, excuse me. Robert wins the melee at Harrenhal, beating Oberyn and the freaking Mountain. And again, that is the Robert we know. That is the kind of Robert Baratheon that I expect. Younger Robert, when he was in his prime, he could beat anybody. He could beat anybody. When Robert is fighting at his best, I don't think there's many people that could stand against him and his strength. With that Warhammer, he is just too skilled with it. He's too strong. I remember there's that one detail where I believe Ned tries to pick up Robert's hammer at one point, and he can barely fucking lift the thing. And you see Robert just swinging a thing around like it's a freaking stick. It just shows you how strong and massive Robert Baratheon really freaking was. But no, I think this makes sense. You know, Robert winning a melee at Harrenhal, beating Oberyn and the Mountain. I could totally see Robert doing that in his prime. Again, prime Robert, prime Bobby B. He was a problem. He was an absolute problem. The dude was just insane. And again, you don't really get that, you know, from just watching the show because Mark Addy played him. But man, Robert's a badass. Robert is a legitimate freaking badass in the book. Like, one of the better, probably one of the top 5, top 10 warriors in the history of A Song of Ice and Fire, I would say. But we'll see. Could Lionel take Robert? No, I don't think so. I don't think so. I love Lionel. I love me some Lionel Baratheon. He's freaking awesome. He's so fun. And I love that they cast Daniel Ings to play him, even though we probably won't see him back on the show until like later seasons once we get to some, you know, more stuff from him. He's probably not going to be in season 2 at least. But no, Lionel could not take. I don't think Lionel could take Robert. Robert really is like top 5, yeah, maybe even top 3, maybe even Lionel doesn't crack the top 10. I don't know if I would even put Lionel in the top 25, to be honest. He's fun. I mean, he's a bit of a badass, but I mean, he ain't like a super skilled warrior or anything. He's just a really good character. But Bobby B, yeah, I mean, I could easily put Bobby B in like top 3, maybe top 3, top 4 all time, where you have like, let's see, Arthur Dayne is number 1. George has confirmed that Arthur Dayne and Barristan Selmy are his 2 greatest fighters, but he did confirm that if Arthur Dayne and Sir Barristan fought and Arthur Dayne had Dawn, that Arthur Dayne would win. And that comes straight from George. So Arthur Dayne and Barristan the Bold, they are the 2 best fighters in A Song of Ice and Fire. And then it really just comes down to 3, 4, and 5. And I think you can kind of interchange Jaime, Robert, maybe Oberyn, maybe 1 or 2 others. But there's not much. I mean, Robert is that dude. He really is. Robert is that freaking dude. And he's just, I don't know, when he starts swinging that Warhammer, man, he's tough to stop. Bobby freaking B is tough to stop. And I would love to see a young Robert Baratheon show. And I'd love to see who they would cast as young Bobby B. I liked Robert in the show, but yeah, he was a unit. He was a unit in his prime. And again, I love Mark Addy's performance. Mark Addy killed it as an older Robert, a Robert that's a little bit, gone, a lot fatter. He's drinking and eating a lot more. He's been king for like 17 years at this point, so he's not the Robert of his prime anymore. But man, yeah, when he was in his prime, absolute unit for sure. I'd love to see a Robert's Rebellion. Yeah, even if Lionel might have been a little bit bigger, Robert was still the better fighter. Definitely the better fighter. Top was the fool that tricked Aegon the Conqueror to become a sigil immortal. Oh, man. I cannot believe how much stuff they gave us here. This is crazy. Absolutely crazy. All right, now here we see that Aerys doesn't care about the prophecy and rants to Rhaegar about it. Rhaegar loses faith, but Lyanna, after hearing of the deaths of her brother and father, latches onto it to justify it all as part of a divine plan and reignites Rhaegar's belief. Okay, here we go. All right, now this is a little un-Stark-like for Lyanna. Wow, okay. This is a little bit different. This is, I gotta say, I'm not quite sure I would have expected Lyanna to go like this full on, like prophecy, that's all that matters. But then again, I mean, if she's using it as an excuse to try and justify the death of her family, I can kind of understand that. Like, just from a psychological standpoint, when you lose someone or, really close to you, like a family member or a loved one or something like that, naturally you want to just look for reasons, something that makes it all make sense. Why this really happened? Is there a bigger plan at play here? So I guess I can understand why Lyanna might want to look for a deeper meaning in her father and brother's death. So I guess that makes sense to a certain degree. But no, this is pretty interesting. Aerys not caring about the prophecy, that doesn't surprise me in the slightest. I had a feeling Aerys wouldn't give 2 shits about any prophecies because he's way too far gone at this point. But it's very interesting that he rants to Rhaegar enough about it to the point where Rhaegar loses faith. I mean, the way that they're portraying Rhaegar earlier in some of this play, it's like he's a dragon dreamer. Rhaegar is legit having dragon dreams, and that is what made him so motivated to pursue all of this in the first place. You mean to tell me a few words from Aerys is all it took for you to lose faith? I don't know. That shows me that maybe Rhaegar didn't have as strong a constitution as I thought he did, and maybe it was actually Lyanna that was like really the one that kind of kept shit on track. Lyanna and Elia, maybe. I don't know. It's just a little weird to portray Rhaegar as like this, this holy warrior, so dedicated, but all it takes is his father ranting a little bit for him to lose faith. I don't know if I like that. I don't know if that makes a whole lot of sense for the character that they're setting up here, just narratively. But it's just me. But again, Lyanna latching onto it to justify the death of her father and brother, it makes sense, and I can see her kind of, reigniting Rhaegar's belief in the prophecy. So that's an interesting reveal. We also hear that Lyanna has a lot of grief for what happens to her father and brother, blames it on herself, but ultimately she sees it as a part of a divine plan, like the horrors were in the service of some greater purpose / the prophecy. And again, that's just very not Stark-like. That's just not how the Starks usually operate. But I don't know. It's interesting. It's interesting, if nothing else. But here we see at Harrenhal, Rhaegar learns that Lyanna has been having dreams about the Song of Ice and Fire and feels that it's his fate to be with her based on the prophecy. They have a vision together of Daenerys and her dragons in the future. So full-on confirmation that not only just Rhaegar, but Lyanna herself, both of them were having these dreams, the prophecy of A Song of Ice and Fire. Now, this officially brings the prophecy of A Song of Ice and Fire from the show into book canon now. 100% book canon now. And this is something that did always come from George. I know it looked like a show change right at the beginning, like at the beginning of House of the Dragon, when we see that Viserys talks about Aegon the Conqueror having this vision of A Song of Ice and Fire, seeing the long night that is going to come all those years later. But now it looks like we are 100% getting confirmation that this is book canon too. That is very big. That is not just show canon anymore. The Song of Ice and Fire, the prophecy of A Song of Ice and Fire, is 100% book canon now. And that is definitely not something I was expecting. It's, not even more so the fact that it's not just Rhaegar that is having this vision, but Lyanna as well. They're both having this vision together, and they're seeing Daenerys and her dragons in the future, just like Daemon saw. We saw that on House of the Dragon season 2 when Daemon had his final Weirwood vision at the end of season 2 at Harrenhal. That was one of the things he saw in his vision. Daenerys giving birth to her 3 dragons. So it seems like these specific visions are getting sent to all of these Targaryen dreamers throughout the centuries, likely in hopes of preparing them for when the long night eventually comes, because they know the dragons are going to be very vital at kind of staving this off. So this is definitely a pretty big confirmation that the Song of Ice and Fire prophecy is 100% book canon now, or at least according to this play. Wow. Okay. There's only one time a real sword fight happens, and it's between 2 ensemble characters for a few seconds. All the other fights are stylized with heavy use of slow motion puppetry. Okay, so not a whole lot of like actual action sword fighting in the play. It's mostly all done with puppetry, highly stylized puppetry. And I'm sure that once this play starts to go around a little bit more, I have to imagine we'll start seeing some visual for it as well. I actually really want to see this play. Unfortunately, it's not playing here in the States yet. It's only playing in the UK. I imagine it'll probably move to the States at some point. And when it does come anywhere close to me, I am definitely going to go see it if I have a chance. But I am hoping that we at least get some video from this play at some point, leaking online, somebody filming it. Like, I want to actually see this freaking thing. I want to see what this looks like, because it sounds fucking awesome. It sounds absolutely awesome. The scene of Lyanna's death / Jon's birth occurs pretty much the same way as it did in Game of Thrones, with the only exception being that Jon's name is not Aegon. And again, I am very, very happy about that. When we saw that Jon's real name was Aegon on the show, I don't know, it just felt like super kind of on the nose. Like, of course, his name is Aegon. I don't know. I just feel like that's not very interesting enough. I feel like Jon should have a better name, a more unique name, a name that's more suited to who Jon Snow is going to be, and not comparing him to all the other Aegons that came before him, because Jon is singular. Jon is different. Jon is not something that has happened really in the Targaryen line before, in terms of him being full on the embodiment of the Song of Ice and Fire, where he is half fire and half ice, half Targaryen, half Stark. That just does not come around very often, that combination. So I feel like just by the very nature of who Jon is and what his storyline is, he should have a very unique name that reflects how unique he is. So I'm really glad that his name isn't Aegon in the book. I hope it. I wouldn't mind if it's something that we haven't even heard before. I know George loves to reuse names, so I wouldn't mind it maybe being like a Jaehaerys or something. But I would love for Jon to just have a completely different, unique name suited to him only because of how unique of a character he is. I wonder if Jon will start having dreams. I mean, Jon already has warg dreams. One thing that has been confirmed on the show, and not on the show, but in the book, is all the Stark children are 100% wargs. Jon is constantly warging into ghosts. They're always warging into their kind of wolves, not really controlling it, but nonetheless, they're doing it. But yeah, I wonder if we're going to see Jon start to have some dragon dreams now. I mean, he seems like he has some of the magic from the North, from the old gods, from the Stark lineage, with the warging ability he has. Now let's see if he inherits any abilities from his Targaryen side, like dragon dreams, as you mentioned. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised, Blue, if we come to find out that Jon starts having some dragon dreams in Winds of Winter, maybe. I wouldn't be surprised at all, especially now that Jon is like officially a Fire White in the book. Or at least he will be a Fire White in the book. At least George has kind of talked about when Jon Snow comes back, he's going to be very similar to Beric Dondarrion in terms of he's not alive. He's not a living person anymore. He is a white animated by fire. He is a Fire White, according to George. So now that, so once Jon gets brought back in the book, I could totally see him start to have some Targaryen dragon dreams. Absolutely. Absolutely. But yeah, Lyanna being confirmed to be a Green Seer, that's another pretty big one as well. I definitely did not see that coming. But here we have, on the night of the Red Comet, Rhaegar has sex with Lyanna, conceiving Jon, and Aerys with Rhaella, conceiving Daenerys. It's implied that they are both the prince that was promised, but no explicit confirmation for either. Wow, okay, so the freaking play is straight up confirming that Jon and Daenerys were conceived on the same night. And they are collectively, apparently, the embodiment of the prince that was promised. And again, I think that fits with some, I think when you look at Daenerys' story, she very, fits the prince that was promised very well. And so does Jon. Jon fits it incredibly well as well. They both have a lot of details that line up with it. So I can see that, them kind of putting it into one where it's not Jon or Daenerys, it's both of them. And both of them are going to be needed if they are going to stave off this long night, if they're going to survive when winter really comes. They're going to need both of them. But yeah, I like that. I don't mind that. I don't mind that. I don't mind that. Oh. So yeah, so it looks like there's two red comets. We see the red comet at the beginning of the regular Game of Thrones show, the one that Bran sees, the one that Osha and Bran talk about and all of that. But yeah, it looks like we have a red comet on the night that Daenerys and Jon Snow were conceived as well. So that's very interesting. Yeah, red comet on their births and the birth of Dany's dragons. Definitely not a coincidence, right? I mean, Dany's dragons being brought into the world, and we have Daenerys and Jon Snow being brought into the world. These are two massively significant events. These are effectively the two significant events that are going to save and help end the long night. So I think it makes total sense that the gods marked both of these occasions with something like a red comet, a meteorological event, a celestial event like a red comet on both of these nights, signifying how important both of these nights are and both of these events are. So I like that. I think that fits perfectly with some of the prophecies that we've seen, some of the symbology that we get. The symbolism of these red comets and what they potentially mean, what they represent. I like it. I think it's interesting. I think it's interesting having a comet on the night that Dany and Jon were conceived and the night that the dragons were born. I don't know. I like the symmetry of it, I guess. I don't mind it. I don't mind. Yeah, comets usually remain in orbit and return. And that's the thing. It could just be the same comet, just years apart. Absolutely. Could literally be the same comet returning for these two very important, significant events. I could totally see that. Absolutely. That sounds like a college story. I saw a red comet on prom night. Oh, Jesus. Jesus. All right, let's see what else we got here. When a comet, well, okay, all right, we got some more stuff on the comet. When the comet appears, Rhaella is summoned to Aerys' room. She reveals her body is cut all over from his nails. Elia and Rashara try to stop her from being taken to the Kingsguard, but Rhaella talks about her duty and how she understands what's expected of her. Ooh, okay, getting a little bit dark here. On the night of the red comet, Rhaella cries out and curse to the gods, proclaiming that if she conceives a child, it would not be a son, but a vengeful daughter who would bring back dragons and burn kingdoms. Oh shit! And again, we were hearing from the prophecy that the prince that was promised would come from the line of Rhaella. And here we're getting a little bit more confirmation of that she was pretty much, breathing this into existence in a sense on the night of the red comet. That this is what I'm going to bring forth into the world, a vengeful daughter who will bring back dragons and burn kingdoms. And that is literally what fucking Daenerys did. I like this. This is good. This is good. These are some this is some big stuff, guys. This is some really big book canon stuff we're getting here. Okay, Sack of King's Landing is almost the same as it is in the books. After Jaime kills Aerys and sits on the throne, Robert and his men enter from one side of the stage, Tywin and Cersei from the other. Big canon contradiction since Robert isn't present here in the books. I was just going to say, we were literally just talking about this 2 minutes ago, how Robert was too injured after the Battle of the Trident with with Rhaegar that he couldn't go to King's Landing himself. So the Sack of King's Landing was led by Ned Stark. But here we're getting conflicting reports here. So maybe the original report that Ned went to King's Landing alone wasn't right. Maybe that wasn't the accurate account. Maybe this is the more accurate one that Robert, and I think this makes a little bit more sense. I mean, if I'm Robert Baratheon and I just got done beating Rhaegar at the Trident, I don't care how injured I am. I'm getting my ass to King's Landing myself to claim that shit myself. I'm not sending my friend to go do it. I'm doing it myself, especially the kind of personality that Robert Baratheon has. So I guess on one hand, this does make a little bit of sense that Robert would want to be the one to do this himself. But I like the idea of him entering the stage on one side and Tywin and Cersei entering from the other side. Like I can picture that, them just kind of entering the throne room at the same time from opposite ends and just kind of meeting in the middle and seeing like how that kind of goes down, with Tywin most likely just bending the knee to Robert. Man, okay, this is interesting. Again, maybe Ned didn't go to King's Landing alone. Maybe Robert really was with him. Maybe this is the true accounting. But last, okay, this is the last one. Last, but certainly not least, Lyanna does not hate Robert, and their relationship is shown to be friendly, at least at Harrenhal. She comforts him, and after the boat thing, he is very charismatic. She gets the appeal, but she loves Rhaegar. Okay, so that's there's always been a lot of rumors as to, we know how Robert felt about Lyanna. We know Robert was madly in love with Lyanna, but how did Lyanna really feel about Robert was always the question. So at least we're getting some context there that, Lyanna doesn't hate Robert, but she's not in love with him. She loves Rhaegar, pretty much. So that's interesting. That's interesting. Man, wow. there it is. Again, the only one thing that's really kind of a contradiction is Robert going to King's Landing for the sack of King's Landing instead of Ned. That's really the only kind of contradicting canon change. The rest are just like really big reveals of stuff that have been theorized and not really confirmed and, talked about. But man, that's a lot of freaking stuff. Holy shit. Yeah, Bobby P got friend zoned. Yeah, he liked Bessie too much. He did. Bessie. Oh, man. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I love that it's legit. Me too. And that's what I love about this, that this is legit 100% book canon. This isn't show canon. That like everything that we read here isn't lining up with the Game of Thrones show and the House of the Dragon show. This is lining up 100% with book canon, with A Song of Ice and Fire, the novels. And I love that. Yeah, I love that this is legit book canon, like legit, real definitive answers that we've been waiting a very long time for. Hell, Lyanna confirmed to be the Knight of the Laughing Tree. Lyanna being a green seer. Lyanna and Rhaegar running off together of their own free will. All of this stuff is massive. Again, it paints all of these characters, and it paints this entire rebellion, not entire rebellion, but it certainly paints aspects of Robert's rebellion in a totally different light. And it definitely paints these characters in a very different light. Elia, we finally have some real context for. We're really getting to see what Elia was really like, how her and Rhaegar were pretty much partners in all of this. Elia was on board for everything, even including Rhaegar and Lyanna hooking up. Elia had no problem with it. Hell, to the point where Elia and freaking Lyanna became like best friends. They became pen pals, for crying out loud. So we're learning tons of characterization for a lot of these characters, and they are definitely being painted in way different lights than we originally thought. Yeah, thank the gods for Bessie. Thank the gods for Bessie. Wow, this is crazy. This was some pretty big stuff, guys. This was some pretty big book lore canon stuff, and I'm pumped. I am pumped for it. I'm gonna have to I might do a video on this. Like I know we're talking about it now, but I might do like a proper full like breakdown recorded video on it and kind of dive a little bit deeper into all of it. Because that'll be fun. That'll be a fun video to make. Man, wow. Robert's Rebellion. Definitely a much brighter light has been shown on Robert's freaking Rebellion. Holy shit. Man, yeah, definitely gonna do a deep dive. I wanted to kind of just read them and go through them real quick and just give kind of initial reactions. But yeah, I definitely want to do like a much deeper dive into most, if not all of these reveals. I'll probably start off doing like the main ones. But yeah, I definitely want to kind of get this in video form as well, because there's a lot of gold here. There's a lot. I'm thinking of a lot of really fun videos I think I could make with some of this information. And I love diving back into A Song of Ice and Fire. So glad that we are going to be doing a lot more A Song of Ice and Fire content here on the channel going forward. But wow, yeah, a lot of stuff. Lot of confirmation right there, ladies and gentlemen. Lot of confirmation. Like Ray was saying in the chat, it makes it that much better knowing that everything that we just read is 100% book canon. Like legit, there's no kind of room for interpretation or ambiguity. This is 100% straight up book canon that we just got. And that makes it so much more exciting, just because I just love the books. I mean, the shows have been fun, hit or miss at times, the shows, but the books are always hit. Like it's never hit or miss when it comes to George's source material. It's always a freaking hit. So this was fun. This was fun. Yeah, right. Finally, some real answers to some of the most common questions. And again, it's fun stuff that we've been theorizing as a fandom for many, many, many years. Like Night of the Laughing Tree, for instance. I have to imagine, probably a lot of us were assuming that it was Lyanna that was the Night of the Laughing Tree. Considering what happens, considering how Lyanna is present, how she kind of disappears, and all of a sudden a very short night, just shows up and kicks all these squires' asses. You could just tell that this was definitely Lyanna. So some of the things were a little obvious, and it's good to get confirmation on them. But some of these things came just right out of left field, like Lyanna being a green seer, stuff like that. That's all straight out of left field that I don't think a lot of us were anticipating. Man. And I think the interdynamics among the characters that were revealed was just as important and just as vital. Like, we finally now know definitively what was the relationship like between Elia and Rhaegar. What was it like between Elia and Lyanna, and Rhaegar and Lyanna, and vice versa? Like, how were these interdynamics of these relationships? Now we know. It looks like the three of them were straight up a team. Rhaegar, Lyanna, and Elia all working together in tandem to try and bring the prince that was promised prophecy to life. It seems like they were all very much on board with all of this. So yeah, we got a lot of characterization in terms of, some of the motives of some of these characters. And I liked it. I thought these were some really cool reveals. Some really cool reveals. And again, it just paints many aspects of Robert's Rebellion in a totally different freaking light. Most of us just decided that it was canon. Yeah, the fact that she and Rhaegar were in the God's Eye led me to believe that she was a green seer. I mean, it makes sense, in hindsight, them being at the God's Eye, maybe going to kind of seek the kind of wisdom of the Green Men, of the, what kind of hints they could get about the prophecy that is coming, the Song of Ice and Fire that is coming. And that's another thing. We also have definitive confirmation, I guess, now that this prophecy of a Song of Ice and Fire, again, this is not just show canon anymore. This is now book canon. So yeah, again, we got a lot of stuff here, guys. We got a lot of stuff. Finally, some real answers. I like it. George was like, okay, I can't give you Winds of Winter this year, but I can at least give you some confirmation of some things. I mean, it's not exactly a great consolation prize compared to Winds, but this was fun. I think this was fun, seeing all of these reveals, getting a much better, proper context as to, Rhaegar and Lyanna, the rebellion, how it started. I guess my question now is, who started the rumor? Because now we know it was 100% a rumor or a straight up lie that Rhaegar kidnapped Lyanna. Was this lie perpetrated by Robert, I guess, is my question. Did Robert put forth the narrative that Lyanna was kidnapped by Rhaegar in order to kind of paint Rhaegar in the bad light, in order to kind of gain support? That is what I want to know now. Who came up with this lie that Rhaegar kidnapped Lyanna? Oh my God, you took the words right out of my mouth. I was just going to say, freaking, if it wasn't that, it was Varys, or Littlefinger. I think Littlefinger would also be a very good suspect here. I think Littlefinger would have also been uniquely positioned to be able to perpetrate a lie like this with his kind of relationship to the Tully family and Kat's sister, him being in King's Landing, his closeness to Jon Arryn, the Hand of the King at the time. I feel like Varys, Littlefinger, a couple of these characters were very well suited to kind of perpetrate this lie. So yeah, I think Varys is definitely a strong candidate, 100%. Littlefinger too, definitely. This is good. Again, it paints a lot of these events in different lights, right? It's like we're going back and we have to kind of revisit all of this stuff and look at it from a totally different context. This makes me want to go and do a reread, if nothing else. Like, honestly, this really makes me want to go back and just do a full-on reread right from the beginning and just read all the books all over again with all of this new information, with all of this new context that we now have. I have to imagine reading the first few books There's going to be parts that are going to make more sense now. There's going to be things that are painted in different lights now. I am definitely looking forward to doing a reread after this. This is going to be fun. This is going to be really fun. Wow. I was not expecting this much. When we were hearing about this, when this was first getting promoted and hyped up, that they were planning on doing this Mad King / Robert Rebellion's play, and that it was going to be full on book canon, I was expecting to get a little bit. I was not expecting to get anywhere near this much. You're on book 5 of the reread. There you go. Nice. Yeah, this definitely makes me want to do it. I haven't done a reread of the main A Song of Ice and Fire series. It's probably been like a year and a half, maybe close to 2 years since I've done like a full on reread of the main series. I'm due. I am well overdue for a nice reread. And again, especially now having all of this new context that we now have for a lot of these events. So yeah, I'm going to start. I am going to start a reread for sure. I'm going to start I'm probably going to start tonight right after the stream. I'm going to pull out my first edition copy of Game of Thrones, and I'm going to dive into it. A lot of stuff here, a lot of new things, a lot of different context that we have for a lot of this stuff. That's going to be fun. But yeah, there it is, stuff. There it is, folks. The reveal of Robert's Rebellion, the Mad King play, and all of the just incredibly book canon lore that we just got dropped in our freaking laps. Love it. Love it. Good stuff. Good stuff. Yeah, a 3,000-page journey is starting. It is starting. And yeah, I mean, every once in a while, I like listening to the audiobooks too, especially like if I'm doing like some editing or something, like I'll kind of throw that on in the background and just listen to the audiobook in the background while I'm doing some editing and stuff. Or if I'm, if I want to read before bed, nothing better than a good audiobook. You just throw it on, lay down, and get through a few chapters and fall asleep. So I like the audiobooks too. Nothing wrong with a good audiobook. But yeah, definitely. I'm right. Roy Dotrice is so great, and R.I.P. Roy Dotrice. Rest in peace, my friend. Yeah, I mean, he was the perfect narrator for the A Song of Ice and Fire series. He did the characters' voices incredibly well. He had very distinct and different kind of accents and voices for all of the different characters. Like, he was a true master of his craft when it came to creating audiobooks. But yeah, good old Roy. Good old Roy Dotrice. Man, oh man, oh man. Who is my favorite character? Yeah, I like listening to him at bedtime too. And sometimes it's the best time to listen to it, right before bed. Yeah, Roy Dotrice passed away, unfortunately. So when Winds of Winter does eventually come out, unfortunately, it doesn't look like we will have the soothing sounds of Roy Dotrice to read it to us, unfortunately. But yeah, the audiobooks are great. Again, the audiobooks are where it's at for me. I can do it when I'm driving though, because I'll miss my exit. Yeah, you got to be careful. You don't want to miss an exit. But yeah, the audiobooks are just a little bit more convenient sometimes because you can multitask. Who's my favorite character? Oof. I mean, I do like Jon Snow. I like Ned Stark. I love the Starks. But when I go a little bit back, I mean, Cregan's fun, but I think I really like Theon Stark, the Hungry Wolf. Theon Stark, King Theon Stark, the Hungry Wolf. He was the king of House Stark, the king of the North back during the time of the Andal invasion. And he was the one who kind of pushed the Andals back out of the North. And even went so far as to kind of sail all the way to Andalos and just completely lay waste to some of the Andalos there. King Theon Stark was a badass, an absolute badass. I remember I did a really good, like, extensive breakdown video on King Theon Stark a few years ago. It was actually one of the some of the most fun I ever had researching a character. I really like the Young Wolf. He's really fun. But I also really like Arthur Dayne. I mean, you can't really go wrong with Arthur Dayne, the Sword of the Morning. He's just such a good fucking character. And one that just isn't, nearly fleshed out as much as possible. Lamy Greenhands. Who doesn't like good old Lamy Greenhands or Hot Pie? Good old fucking Hot Pie. Favorite is Jon Snow. Yeah, Jon Snow's a good character. Again, I think he's an even better character in the book than he is on the show. He's just, they're a bit different book to show, Jon Snow's. But what the fuck, Salome? But yeah, so Arthur Dayne is just, not just Arthur Dayne, but House Dayne in and of itself is probably my second favorite house behind House Stark. They got so much cool lore around them. They have such they have the most unique sword in the entire story, like even more unique than Valyrian steel. So no, I love House Dayne. House Dayne has always been so freaking fun. Gotta love House Dayne. You should do a video on your top minor characters. Let me throw in Patchface. Patchface is so fun. Like, some of the dialogue that we get from Patchface is legit a treat to kind of dive into and trying to kind of interpret and decipher some of the things that he's saying. What does it really mean? What's he really kind of foreshadowing? Patchface is really fun. Yeah. Patchface is cool. What is up, Targaryen loyalists? Welcome, welcome, welcome. We just got done looking at the Mad King play, not the play itself, but all of the new information, all of the awesome canon information that has just come out about the Robert's Rebellion Mad King play. We were just taking a look at all of it, and I got to say, way more there than I thought we were going to get. I definitely did not expect we were going to get this freaking much lore and this much confirmed. Lyanna being the Grey Seer, Lyanna being the Knight of the Laughing Tree. That one I wasn't really too surprised about. I think we all kind of figured Lyanna was the Knight of the Laughing Tree. But a lot of this other stuff was so insane to see. The dynamic between Lyanna, Elia, and Rhaegar, we got a really good definitive look at that they were pretty much all partners. They were pretty much all working towards this prophecy together. And I think that was some of the most fun, seeing some of this stuff, not just the big reveals we got, but actually seeing some of the inner workings in terms of how these characters, really felt about one another. Aerys mocking Rhaegar about the prophecy to the point where he almost loses faith in it until Lyanna kind of brings it back for him. Like, there's so much new context that we get here from these characters, from Robert's Rebellion, from everything from those earlier days. This was crazy. I was not expecting this much. Definitely not expecting to get this much. But I don't mind it. Again, there's really only one thing that seems to be kind of canon breaking. And that's in the play. It seems that Robert himself went to the sack of King's Landing himself instead of Ned going there because Robert was too injured. So that's really the only kind of canon thing that's kind of not in canon, but maybe this version on the play is the definitive version. Maybe what we've heard before was a false testimony. Maybe it wasn't Ned that went there alone. Maybe Robert was really the one that always went there. So that was really the only two things that kind of stuck out. That was kind of like a canon, kind of conflicting canon. But other than that, all of this stuff just completely enhances these characters. It paints these characters in this time period in a totally different perspective. And I can't wait to just go do a reread now. That's what we were just saying a minute ago. Having all of this new context, seeing all of these characters through a totally different perspective, it's going to make a reread from the very beginning feel so much different. Where I imagine things are going to make a lot more sense at times. We're going to have a lot more context for some of these characters. And I think it's just going to make a whole reread right from the first book on a lot more enjoyable. So yeah, this is going to be good. Good stuff. But yeah, let me know in the chat, guys, as well. I was just being asked who is my favorite character. But let us know in the chat. Who is your favorite character, guys? Book or show, doesn't matter, either or. Who is your favorite? Again, I love Oberyn. It's hard for me to pick just one. I like Oberyn. I like Jon Snow. I like Sir Arthur Dayne. But there's also a lot of good, like, just secondary characters that I really like as well, like the Hound and stuff. Like, there's just so many good characters. It's hard to really pick one. But yeah, what the fuck, Salome? I like the Paragon Knights, like Dane and Barristan. I mean, you can't really go wrong with Arthur Dayne and Sir Barristan Selmy. They are they're the very embodiment of chivalry, the very embodiment of what a Westerosi knight is supposed to be, how they're supposed to comport themselves, how they're supposed to behave. It's just you can't really go wrong with them two for sure. I actually just started the main series. I'm at the part where Jamie just found out about Tyrion. Ned came so close to getting out of there. Oh, awesome. You're reading the books. Love it. Love it. All right. Yeah, I mean, the first book is pretty similar to season 1. There are some kind of changes here and there, but for the most part, the first book in the first season, it's a pretty good adaptation. Again, some changes, but not a ton. You're gonna die for some chickens? I mean, I think the Hound ain't gonna die for some chickens, but I know one thing: the Hound is definitely ready to kill for some chickens.
Bring me one of those chickens. Bring me one of those chickens.
Bring me one of those chickens. Yeah, I miss the Hound too. I do miss the Hound. He was fun. It was a lot of fun. For sure, the Hound was so good in the show. Yeah, the Hound was good in the show. I gotta say, I actually really liked Oberyn in the show. I think Pedro Pascal actually did pretty good as Oberyn. I feel like, you get to a point where you get a little bit oversaturated with certain actors. When they start putting certain actors in everything, you start seeing them everywhere, it just becomes a little bit of an oversaturation. That kind of happened with me with Pedro Pascal. The guy is just in everything nowadays, to the point where it just starts getting sickening to see him and everything. But back during Game of Thrones, before he really blew up, I thought he did phenomenal as Oberyn. I thought he brought the character of Oberyn to life in a really interesting way, gave him a nice edge, gave him a nice attitude, gave him this nice kind of flamboyant kind of style. And it worked. I think it just worked very well for, that Dornish style character that he was. But yeah, Pedro fatigue has 100% set in. It's too much. He's in fucking everything now. So yeah, I'm right there. I am right there. Pedro fatigue is real. But he was good in Narcos as well. Again, in some of these roles before he really blew up, I think that's when he did his best work. Shows like Narcos, shows like Game of Thrones, when he's playing Oberyn. Some of those earlier roles before he was this massive star, that's kind of when he did his best work. Littlefinger says, Ned Stark is my favorite. I mean, you can't go wrong with House Stark. House Stark will always be my favorite house. I mean, House Dane is fun. House Targaryen is fun. There's so many really interesting houses in A Song of Ice and Fire. But when it comes to the North, and when it comes to House Stark and just everything, the culture that has been developed in the North, the style, the way of life, everything about the North and House Stark has just always been the most fascinating to me. And I think it's, because of their history as well. Their history that stretches all the way back to the first men, to the earliest days of Winterfell when it's first being born, the lowest levels of the crypts and what's really down there, all of the kings of winter. There's just so much fascinating history and lore that comes along with House Stark. You just can't go wrong with them, man. So yeah, for me, love House Stark. And I can never get enough of the House Stark theme song.
Duty is sacrifice. It eclipses all things, even blood. All men of honour must pay its price. North owes a great duty to the Seven Kingdoms, one older than any oath. Since the days of the first men, we have stood as guardians against the cold and the dark. But my ancestor, Torrhen Stark, began a tradition by making an offering at the onset of winter. 1 in 10 men from our household was to be chosen to fortify the watch. This is not a sentence, but an honour. A duty embraced by all who serve the North. Even by mine own kin. The North must stand ready. Winter is coming.
Winter is coming. But yeah, a lot of good houses and a lot of good characters in the show, for sure. Absolutely. Yeah, the Blackwoods are always a really interesting kind of house. We got to see in the most recent episode 6, Alysanne Blackwood very much stepped into the role of Red Rob Rivers. And I didn't mind it. I feel like it was very fitting. We know Black Allie is also really, really good with a bow. She's got a badass weirwood bow as well. So her being the one to fire those shots, I feel it made perfect sense. It was a change that made sense with Red Rob Rivers not being on the show. And they hadn't really given Black Allie much to do up until that point anyway. So I was totally fine with her being the one firing those shots. But yeah, the Blackwoods, really cool house. Really good house. Yeah, the Ravencloaks, House Fossaway. And also, the green apple of House Fossaway, hell yes. And I feel like, that character became so much more popular ever since A Night of the Seven Kingdoms, and rightfully so. I'm blanking on his name, but the actor who played Raymond Fossaway was just so fucking good, man. He was so good. I really am bummed that pretty much all of those characters from A Night of the Seven Kingdoms season 1 are not going to be in season 2. We're not going to see any of these characters again, probably for a while. Lionel Baratheon, not going to be in season 2. Fossaway, not going to be in season 2. House Targaryen, not going to see much of them in season 2, or at least not the ones that we saw in season 1. I don't know. We're going to see Mycart later on. We'll see some of these other. We'll see Lionel Baratheon again way down the road, but that's not for a very long time. That probably won't be until like season 5 or 6, if they even get to that storyline eventually. So it's a little bit disappointing that we're not going to get some of these characters, these great characters in season 1 of A Night of the Seven Kingdoms. They're not going to be in season 2, and it's just a little bit of a bummer, man. It's a little bit of a bummer, especially Daniel Eggs playing Lionel Baratheon. He was just, he was a treat. He was a treat. But yeah, Night of the Seven Kingdoms was fucking great. Such a good show.
It was at this moment that he knew. He fucked up.
Oh, man. Pure cinema. Pure cinema, A Night of the Seven Kingdoms was. It was just so fucking good, man.
Lord Ashford Fox's sheep!
Oh, man, I miss that show. Lord Ashford Fox's sheep! Oh, man, that was so fun. That was so... Yeah, but we do get the Red Widow. This is true. We do have some good characters coming. Yeah, 100%. We do have some good characters coming. And we're going to see Dunk, fighting over a stream, pretty much. But it's going to be fun. I can't wait. Again, you could put Dunk and Egg into any storyline, no matter how big of a spectacle it is or how slow it is. And I'm going to enjoy it either way, just because I love the characters. Like, when you have just really, really good characters and good writing behind those characters, you can put them into almost any plot line you want, and you can make it compelling just from having good character-driven dialogue, good character-driven narratives. And I think that's where A Night of the Seven Kingdoms is really going to shine. It's never going to be the show that's going to be known for its giant spectacles, but it's definitely going to be a show that is known for really, really good character-driven storytelling. And that's all you need sometimes. That's all you need to really make a good show. So I can't wait. I cannot wait for season 2. They're filming it right now. We know that we're going to be getting it next year, probably very early on, it seems. I believe they said that they're going to be premiering A Night of the Seven Kingdoms in the first quarter of 2027. So I can't wait. I can't wait. Yeah, we get the beans and the barley corns. How refreshing was it to see A Night of the Seven Kingdoms on screen? I think coming out of season 2 of House of the Dragon, I know a lot of people were very hesitant because season 2 definitely dropped the ball in a lot of ways. But for me, A Night of the Seven Kingdoms just completely reinvigorated my investment in A Song of Ice and Fire on screen. Like, I'll always be invested in the source material, in the books and all of that. Like, it'll always be one of my favorite stories, right up there with Tolkien. But after House of the Dragon season 2, I think a lot of people were losing a little bit of faith as to whether or not HBO could even do a good Game of Thrones show anymore. And then Ira Parker came around and said, "Hold my beer, Ryan Condal. I'm going to show you how it's fucking done." And boy, did he just knock it out of the fucking park, right? I remember when Ryan Condal came out with House of the Dragon season 1, everyone was calling him, the chosen one, the prince that was promised. I think we came to find out that Ryan Condal was a false prince. And I think Miguel Sapochnik was a big driving force in making that first season as well as it was. I don't think it's a coincidence that when Miguel Sapochnik left, the quality just went right down the crapper. But yeah, I don't know. I think A Night of the Seven Kingdoms definitely reaffirmed my investment into the A Song of Ice and Fire shows that we're going to get. And yeah, that's right, we're getting books 4 and 5 from George. Yeah, I mean, it looks like seems like Winds has fucking been on pause for like a decade at this point. I know he kind of gives us updates once in a while and says he gets a little bit of writing done every once in a while. I don't know. I mean, at this point, Winds comes when it comes. But him working on it, I will say this. If George taking a break from Winds, if him working on A Night of the Seven Kingdoms, if that in any way leads to him kind of finding that creative spark again, if that gets him into writing, if that motivates him again a little bit more, if completing 4 and 5, if completing novel 4 and 5 of Dunk and Egg gets him to kind of get some progress done on Winds again, then maybe it's a detour that's actually worth it. If this can kind of really bring George's creative kind of juices back to the surface, maybe this is what he needs. Maybe he just needs to sit down, write something new, and actually complete it. Maybe that will give him the motivation that he needs to finally finish Winds. Or at least I'm hoping so. I'm very much glass half full here. But it's tough considering how long we've waited for Winds. But I'm hoping it'll have a similar effect, that maybe it'll kind of, bring that out of him again. But we'll see. We shall see. I don't know. I'm looking forward to it. But I like the plan that Ira Parker wants to do with A Night of the Seven Kingdoms in terms of like the 3 different time periods: young Egg, kind of, young adult Egg, and then Egg later on as he's like full-on King Egg. I love that idea. Like if HBO actually lets him kind of plot that course that long, where, because I know he says that he wants to keep Peter Claffey and Dexter Soul Ansel for the remainder of the series. And I mean, I don't know how possible it's going to be to keep Dexter the whole time. He'll be able to keep Peter Claffey as Dunk from now until the end of the show. They'll never have to recast Dunk. But if they are going to be doing the entirety of Egg's storyline, then yeah, at some point they're going to have to recast Dexter Soul Ansel as an older version of Egg. But I know Ira Parker doesn't really want to do that. He wants to wait for Egg, or he wants to wait for the actor who plays Egg to grow up a little bit and then do those seasons. But I don't think that's something HBO would ever invest in, that like investing that much time in between just waiting for this actor to grow up. HBO would never sign off on that. But hopefully, if nothing else, he gets the kind of 4 or 5 seasons that he wants to do with young Egg. And then maybe they can find it's. But then you get to the point where, how are you going to replace Dexter Soul Ansel as Egg? Because he's just been so good, so fucking good, man. So I don't know. I mean, how are you going to get someone to fill that shoes? And and then we're always going to be comparing this Egg to the previous Egg. Which one is better? Which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But I don't know. I guess we'll see. Yeah, Ira's willing to go on the break. Ira's willing to take a break so Dexter can kind of grow up a little bit. But I don't think HBO will ever sign off on that. I just, HBO, at the end of the day, their priority isn't storytelling. Their priority is the bottom line, is profits. And having that much of a wait time in between like seasons, just so an actor can kind of grow up, I just don't see HBO ever signing off on that. They do have creative control at the end of the day, so it really is up to them. Ira Parker can kind of put forth his idea, but it's really up to HBO. I don't know. I would love to see something like this get tried. I think it would be very experimental. It would be something that we haven't really seen before in terms of like a show, like literally taking a break just so the actor can grow up to play the next phase of the role. We've never really seen anything like that. So I wouldn't mind watching it just to see how it would unfold. But then again, we would also have the downfall of probably a few years of no new seasons of A Song of Ice and Fire, which also would suck. So yeah, I don't know. I guess it'll be interesting to see what they do there. You know, what will HBO decide to do there, I guess, is the question. But no, I guess I just have a tough time seeing HBO signing off on that. But I would love that. I would love that. I think it would be very fun. It would be very fun to watch that. Maybe they should move to MGM since the boy in white is like 40 now. I mean, it would be fitting, right? It would be fitting. You know, just swap the two actors. You know, you have the boy in white play the older Egg, and you have Egg just play the boy in white for a few seasons. Maybe it'll even out somewhere. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know. All right, let's dive into this episode 7 trailer, shall we, folks? And we will see what we can see. Again, final 2 episodes, guys. Final 2 episodes of season 3. And I got to say, heading into season 3, I wasn't quite sure what to expect. And even though the show has definitely fumbled a lot of storylines, there have been some really interesting aspects of season 3 that I've actually really enjoyed. Mainly Aegon. Tom Glencarney's performance as Aegon is always good, but this season he's taken it to like another level this season with his performance. He's always one of the more compelling characters. But what Aegon is doing, what Tom Glencarney is doing as Aegon this season has been nothing short of phenomenal to watch on screen, especially the dynamic between him and Larry's. It's just been so fun to watch those 2 characters in this little duo of theirs. So again, I think the show has been doing some really interesting things. Season 3 is littered with problems. Don't get me wrong. Tons of problems. But yeah, it's all right. Yeah, that's kind of how I am. That's kind of how I'm feeling. You know, it's not great, but it's not horrible either. Like season 3 so far is a little bit better than I thought it was going to be coming off of season 2. But again, definitely not without its problems, for sure. For sure. Yeah, we haven't gotten enough of him. Nowhere near enough of Aegon. But I feel like the amount of Aegon that we have gotten, and maybe it's just me, but it's really stood out to me. Like every little bit of screen time that we've gotten of Aegon has been just the biggest standout from most of his episodes. But yeah, we need to get a little bit more of him. We got like 1 Aegon scene in episode 6, and then we didn't see him again. But yeah, I think he's been phenomenal this season, and so has we talked about this last week, but so has Freddie Fox. Freddie Fox as Gwaine. He's been solid. He's been a solid actor this season. His performance has been great. And I think, you know, his character has had some interesting things to do as well. Like, you know, Gwaine fucking saved the day at the end of episode 6. If it wasn't for him, Orban probably would have got executed, and Daron probably would have got executed right there by them assassins. But yeah, I think Freddie Fox has been fun to watch as Gwaine, and Tom Glencarney is always fun to watch as Aegon, for sure. But yeah, that's kind of where season 3 is. Season 3 isn't bad. It's not phenomenal. It's got problems, but it's definitely not horrible, for sure. Yeah, blame David Zaslav. I mean, everything that's going on at HBO, and now we have to really see how this merger is going to shake up. I think that's going to be a big thing, especially like for content creators. Because I mean, I'm sure anyone who has done any kind of content on any HBO show, they are very strict with their copyright enforcements. A lot more strict than just about every other network from any other show that I've covered. I've covered a lot of different networks, a lot of different shows from a lot of different networks, whether it's Netflix, Amazon, Paramount, HBO, MGM. I've covered a lot. And HBO by far is the most strict with their copyright infringement. Like you play a clip that's more than like 10 seconds, you're getting hit. But I don't know. I guess I'm really looking to see how this merger is going to shake everything up. Once Paramount Plus owns HBO, if they're even allowed to own HBO, because it seems like a judge just blocked the deal. This Warner Brothers Discovery merger has been happening. It's been attempting to happen for a while now, but a judge just blocked it, which makes no sense. I mean, I don't know how you're going to allow a company like Disney to own Disney, Marvel, Star Wars, Pixar. Like, I don't know how you can allow one company to own all of that you get your panties in a bunch over Paramount trying to buy WB. It doesn't make sense. So there has to be something more going on there behind the scenes that we just haven't been made aware of yet. So that's what I want to see. I want to see where this merger is going to go. And I think that might give us a better idea as to maybe where the future of A Song of Ice and Fire is going to go. How much time and money are they ultimately going to invest in it? Because again, they're going to have some new bosses pretty soon if this merger goes through. But yeah, the Gawain, the Rock Hightower, yeah, the voice of Old Town. He will be anyway. Should be anyway. Good stuff. Good stuff. All right, let's dive into this episode 7 trailer, shall we, folks? Here we go.
A new dawn is coming. A new line of unsullied kings.
My queen, we've seen something strange.
Mother.
There's a fog that surrounds her. She has come to do you some evil.
She has come to do you some evil. So looks like Alice Rivers is sniffing out Alicent like literally as soon as she freaking arrives. Okay, well, I guess it'll be interesting to see where that goes. All right, let's go from the beginning. First thing we saw, or first thing we heard, I should say, is Aemond.
A new dawn is coming. A new line of unsullied kings.
A new line of unsullied kings. And I have to wonder if this is going to be tying in, or if the reason he's saying this is because they're maybe going to do the pregnancy storyline with Aemond and Alice Rivers. If Aemond is talking about a new line of unsullied kings, he's most likely referring to his own line, the line of unsullied kings that he wants to bring forth with Alice Rivers. So I wonder if we're going to find out in episode 7 that maybe Alice is already pregnant. And I guess, I mean, I don't know how much time they're going to have passed in between these 2 episodes, but I don't know. It looks like Aemond is very much looking forward to a possible future that he can make. Stake his claim on the world, create a line of unsullied kings, from his bloodline, essentially. Oh my God, the Alicent storyline is ridiculous. It really is. It's one of the worst ones in season 3 so far. I 100% agree with you. But yeah, here we have him and Alice at Harrenhal. And then we have good old Alicent showing up.
My queen, we've seen something strange.
Mother.
There's a fog that surrounds her. She has come to do you some evil.
She has come to do you some evil. Okay, so apparently, not exactly sure why. I'm sure we'll get a little bit more context in the actual episode. But it seems like Alice Rivers is suspicious of Alicent the second she arrives. And she has good reason to be, and this does make a little bit of sense. I mean, in the books, Alice Rivers does have certain abilities. She's able to see certain things in the clouds, in pools of rain, in the fire. She's able to, she has these extrasensory abilities. So it makes sense. I think it makes sense that she might kind of be able to sniff that Alicent is maybe up to something. Alicent maybe has some ill intentions for Aemond. We shall see. She's got her hooks in him deep. A prince hanging out in a ratty old Harrenhal. He is. I mean, and we saw what Aemond wanted. Like, he just wanted to heal up, and then he wanted to take off and go find Vhagar. He feels like he's nothing without Vhagar. But Alice Rivers has managed to kind of, like you said, she got her hooks in him pretty deep, and he's already kind of being, I don't know, manipulated by her, but definitely enthralled by her, if nothing else, for sure. But I guess we'll see where it's going to go. Where are we going to see Alice Rivers and Aemond go? And will we ultimately see the pregnancy storyline from Alice Rivers? We shall see. We shall see. But then we also get this shot here of Aegon. Oh, excuse me. First of Rhaenyra. And it looks like it's Adam of Hull saying that we found something.
A new line of unsullied kings. My queen, we've seen something strange.
My queen, we've seen something strange. Now, I have to imagine that this might have something to do with Rhaena getting spotted. We did see a scene in episode 6 where it seems like Rhaena Rhaena seemed to spot her sister, Bela. And she seemed to try to go a little bit closer to get a look. And we saw Lady Jane Arryn completely scold her for it because it's incredibly risky. Not only is Rhaena's life in danger, but if Rhaenyra were to find out that Lady Jane Arryn was harboring Rhaena and the dragon that effectively killed her son, that's going to bring a problem to Jane Arryn's doorstep. But then we also see this shot of Aegon here, and it's like he's looking at something. And we've talked a little bit about this about the previous trailers. There's this one shot in a season 3 trailer that we haven't seen in any of the episodes yet, and it's a shot of Aegon turning around and looking behind him and looking up in the sky, and it's almost looking like he's surprised by what he's seeing. And I wonder if maybe this scene is a similar scene, or if this is all one same scene where maybe this is him seeing Sunfire return. Because Sunfire has to, right, it's got to be Sunfire. We got to see Sunfire return at some point. But it could be Sheepstealer too. That's possible. I don't know if this is going to be the same scene as the one that I was just talking about, but the one that I did see in the season 3 trailer that we haven't seen in any of the episodes yet, I get the feeling that is definitely going to be the scene where he sees Sunfire. And this could lead into that. It could all just be one scene here. But in that other scene, he's in a similar surrounding like this, where he's kind of surrounded by woods, and he turns around and he looks up and he's got like this look of like awe on his face. Like he's kind of amazed by what he's seeing or shocked by what he's seeing. So I really do hope that that's the scene of him seeing Sunfire for the first time. Because again, even though the show has changed a lot of things kind of fundamentally about the source material, there's some things that they can't change because Game of Thrones has already set them up. So Sunfire can't be dead. Like Sunfire literally has to come back to life. Because if we remember back to Game of Thrones season 5, Joffrey is actually in the Sept, and he's telling Marjorie about the Dance of the Dragons, and he's telling her what happened during the Dance of the Dragons, and he tells her how it ends. And Sunfire has to do with that ending. So they kind of painted themselves in a corner where Sunfire kind of has to come back, or they're going to break their own show canon at that point. But we'll see. We shall see. But we also have an 8-month member from West of Westeros. Jeremy, it's been a pleasure being your friend. Well, thank you so much, West of Westeros. It has been such a pleasure being friends with you and each and every one of you in the chat. I have so much fun diving into all of these shows, whether it's from House of the Dragon, Shogun, which I cannot wait for Shogun to return, Severance too. Like I love diving into all of this stuff with you, and it's always a blast. It's always a blast to kind of see what you guys have to say on these things. So thank you, West of Westeros. And thank you for being a member for 8 months. Wow. Awesome stuff, my friend. Awesome stuff. And West of Westeros for $1.99. This series, unfortunately, hasn't held up to Game of Thrones. I don't think anything will ever hold up to Game of Thrones. So I do agree with you there. I feel like season 1 of House of the Dragon was close. I mean, it wasn't exactly peak Game of Thrones good, but it was freaking close to it. Season 1 of House of the Dragon did so much right. And again, I think a big part of it is the performance of Paddy Considine. Paddy Considine playing King Viserys in season 1, it was a transformative role. Like it really was such a good role where he turned that character into something that the book never would have dreamed of. Even George kind of praises Paddy Considine's performance and calls it, his version of Viserys even better than the one he wrote, which it is. I mean, Viserys isn't exactly like a hugely fleshed out character in the book like he is on the show. So no, I like season 1. Again, season 1 of House of the Dragon, I feel like it comes close to Game of Thrones, peak Game of Thrones, but not quite there. But I don't think it'll ever live up to it. Again, even though Game of Thrones ended in a very unsatisfying way for a lot of people, when I look back on Game of Thrones, I still look back on it with immense fondness. I still look at it as one of my favorite shows of all time. It's just one of those things where sometimes the journey is better than the destination. And that is what happened with Game of Thrones. The first 4 seasons or so are some of the best television I have ever seen in my life. So that's kind of how I view it. There's good and bad, but yeah, it's going to be tough for House of the Dragon. It's going to be tough for any A Song of Ice and Fire spinoff to live up to Game of Thrones. I don't think anyone ever will. But again, you know, some of these adaptations have been really good, and I'm looking forward to seeing what other ones they're going to be doing. We know that they're working on Aegon's Conquest right now. We know we have a Corlys Velaryon animated series that should be coming, along with like 5 or 6 other shows or animated shows that are in pre-development. How many of them will actually get ordered and made to series? I don't know, maybe half of them. But even half of them is still great. So I'm looking forward to it. I am looking forward to seeing where the future of A Song of Ice and Fire is going to go. Oh, man. But yeah, it's hard to live up to Game of Thrones. But again, season 1 of House of the Dragon, thanks to Paddy Considine, man, he really was so good.
Gladdens my heart and fills me with sorrow to see these faces around the table, yet grown so distant from each other in the years past. My own face is no longer a handsome one. If indeed it ever was. But tonight, I wish you to see me as I am, your father, your brother, your husband, who may not, it seems, walk for much longer among you. Let us no longer hold ill feelings in our hearts. The crown cannot stand strong if the House of the Dragon remains divided. But set aside your grievances, if not for the sake of the crown, and for the sake of this old man, who loves you all so dearly.
Man, oh man, oh man. Paddy Considine was so freaking good in that first season. I'm sorry. That is just he put on a master class in acting in that first season. And so good. So fucking good, man. But yeah, it's tough to live up to Game of Thrones. It is tough to live up to the original Game of Thrones. Paddy's great in Peaky Blinders as well. Yep, yeah, he is. He is. He's just a good actor, man. He really is. He's just a really freaking good actor. And he was a joy. He was an absolute joy to watch in season 1, both on and off the screen. You look at a lot of the behind the scenes kind of stuff that they did for season 1. It seemed like Paddy Considine really was like the life of the party on and off screen. Having tons of fun on set. Everyone's always laughing around him. Like the dude just seems like he's just a really fucking fun guy to be around. So yeah, good stuff. He just wanted that's it. He was a dying man that knew that his days were limited, and he saw where his family was going. He saw this split in his family getting wider and wider and wider and wider. And all he wanted with his last breath, with his last day, is one last ditch effort to try and bring this family together. And that was the whole point of that dinner scene. One last ditch attempt for Viserys to bring his family together before they get to a place where there's no turning back. But yeah, episode 8, when he makes the walk, the walk is so good. The walk is good, the entrance is good, the walk is good, but my favorite part of that is when he gets to the actual stairs and he's walking up the steps to the throne and his crown falls off of his head. And then we see his brother Daemon come up behind him, pick up his crown, help him to the throne, and places the crown on his head. It was such a good scene between Daemon and Viserys. After everything that happened between them, their whole lives in season 1, the relationship they had, at the end of the day, deep down, Daemon really just wanted to be loved by his big brother. That's really all he wanted. He wanted his big brother to love him. And I think that's a big reason why Daemon acts out so much in his younger days. A lot of it is just an attention grab. He wants his brother to notice him. He wants his brother to respect him. He wants, to kind of be on that equal footing. At the end of the day, Daemon just wants his brother, really. And in that scene, it was just so good because how fitting it was of Daemon kind of coming along and helping his brother, not just physically, but symbolically as well. And when you learn later on that scene in particular wasn't in the script, the scene was, but in terms of Paddy Considine's crown falling off of his head, that wasn't in the script. That was an accident. That just happened accidentally when he was walking up the stairs on one of the takes that they did. Yet they saw an opportunity to make it, to use that in the scene, and they improv'd it. That whole kind of crown falling off Viserys' head and Daemon picking it up, that was an improv scene. And it just makes it so much better. It just shows you that Matt Smith and Paddy Considine, they just have a really good understanding of the characters that they're playing and what will work with these characters. And again, that does come with experience of having, enough roles and being a good actor, where sometimes you just know what will fit a character that you're playing. So I love that scene. I love the entrance. Again, I love the walk, but going up to the throne room, going up to the throne steps and just seeing that helmet fall off of his head and then his brother come along and help him. It was just the perfect cherry on the top for what was already a phenomenal scene. And then again, to find out that it was improv, shit, even better. Even freaking better. But yeah, George R.R.M. loved Paddy's performance. Paddy didn't even have have to audition for the role. It was his from the beginning, like Dinklage with Tyrion. Yeah, from what I remember, I believe Peter Dinklage as Tyrion, I believe he was the only actor that didn't have to audition. I might be, other than but maybe Sean Bean. But yeah, a lot of those roles had to, they had to audition for. But some of these roles, you just know. Sometimes you just know an actor is perfect for a role. And whoever cast Paddy Considine, whoever's idea it was to go after Paddy Considine for this role, I don't know what they saw, but man, they were freaking right. They were right. And same thing with Peter Dinklage as Tyrion. Even with some of the changes that they do to that character, and his relationship that he has with Jaime. Even so, like Peter Dinklage did play a pretty good Tyrion. But yeah, good stuff. All right, let's see what else we got here in this episode 7 trailer. But yeah, hopefully we'll see Sunfire return very soon. I have a very hard time believing that Sunfire is dead, considering what we learned in Game of Thrones and just the book itself. But we shall see. But up next, we have a shot or a silhouette or the shadow. And again, no mistaking what dragon this is. No mistaking what dragon this is with that long ass neck. And of course, that dual tail. That's the thing about Caraxes. He's got this, these kind of hind wings that help stabilize him. Since Caraxes is so top heavy because his neck is so long, in the design phase, Miguel Sapochnik went so far as to give Caraxes a hind set of wings, very small, attached to his feet. And that is meant to kind of stabilize the dragon while he's flying. And I love how they really kind of went in and thought about, birds of prey, how they fly, like, the actual kind of dynamics of, birds of flight. So that was pretty good to see them kind of really take their time when they were developing the physiology of some of these dragons, and Caraxes in particular, having that kind of those hind wings. Perfect little stabilizers.
Mother. There's a fog that surrounds her. She has come to do you some evil.
I have a piece on the board now that will bring the Savage Queen to her knees.
You may refuse.
I have a piece on the board now that will bring the Savage Queen to her knees. So here we see Ormond and Gwaine and the Hightower forces at Tumbleton. And, it seems like they are very much getting ready for what appears to be a full-on siege that will most likely be happening at the Battle of Tumbleton. Now, of course, we know the Battle of Tumbleton is going to be a little bit different on the show than it was in the book, just from some of the changes that they made, where here on the show, they full-on had Ormond take the town of Tumbleton, which doesn't happen in the book. So I think we're going to see more of a protracted siege battle here than kind of what we saw in the book for the first Battle of Tumbleton. But I want to see what is going to be happening with the Dragon Seeds. How are the Dragon Seeds going to kind of develop? How is their storyline during the first Battle of Tumbleton going to develop? I'm trying not to spoil anything because there is something pretty big coming involving the Dragon Seeds in this first Battle of Tumbleton. So I wonder how that's going to play out. What is going to be the reasoning behind that? A lot of interesting stuff, I think, in this first Tumbleton battle. A lot of interesting stuff.
I have a piece on the board now that will bring the savage queen to her knees.
You may refuse me as your sister, but I may compel you as your queen. Now tell me what you know.
Oof! Okay, we got Rhaenyra and Helaena. Now, of course, in the previous episode, Alicent told Rhaenyra that Helaena has dreams. So Rhaenyra is aware now. She knows that Helaena is a dragon dreamer. So naturally, I think it makes perfect sense that Rhaenyra would want to come up to Helaena herself and figure out exactly what you know. What have you been having dreams of? But it seems Helaena is reluctant to share any information with Rhaenyra. And just, the look that Helaena has on her face when looking at Rhaenyra kind of says it all. Almost like, Helaena knows, where Rhaenyra is going to go. Well, and not like almost that she knows. She does know. She's a dragon dreamer. She's seen it. So I wonder if that's why she's very kind of cold and coiled when it comes to Rhaenyra, because she knows what Rhaenyra is going to turn into. But I don't know. And when it comes to Rhaenyra sending Alicent to Harrenhal to kill Aemond, I just thought that was a very ridiculous storyline. Like who thought of this? I don't know. Definitely one of my least favorite storylines I've seen. And we've seen the trailer. It looks like she makes it to Harrenhal, no problem. In like 2 seconds, we got back to teleportation around Westeros. I don't know. I'm just not a big fan of this storyline. It just seems a little forced. It seems like this was a storyline that they just really wanted to get in there, regardless of whether or not it actually made sense. But that's just me. That is just me. Interesting juxtaposition with Sunfire versus Meleys. Yeah, Meleys is rotting and Sunfire's wounds are healing. Meleys is rotting at a very alarming rate when we see Meleys. And yeah, then when we see Sunfire, not only not rotting, but yeah, it seemed like the dragon might have even been healing to some certain extent. Again, it just seems like the dragon is in a very deep state of dormancy, hibernation, brumation, whatever you want to call it. The dragon seems to be dormant and healing right now. Again, Sunfire just can't be dead. Cannot be dead. Good stuff. Good stuff. But yeah, I don't know. As far as Alicent going to Harrenhal again, I don't know. I guess we'll see where that goes, but definitely not a storyline I'm looking forward to. But I do want to see what is Helaena going to ultimately give up to Rhaenyra here, because again, at this point, Helaena has seen how the Dance of the Dragons ends. She's seen the battle above the God's Eye. She's seen what is going to happen. So she knows where most of this is going. I guess it's just a matter of how much is she going to reveal to Rhaenyra. What will Helaena tell her here in this scene? And whatever Helaena does tell Rhaenyra, is that going to be maybe a catalyst for Rhaenyra kind of taking that plunge into the more paranoia state of mind that she kind of gets into later on in the book? I don't know. I could see Helaena, whatever she reveals here, it playing an interesting role in the kind of psychological aspect of Rhaenyra's character going forward. We shall see. Yeah, Sunfire's just on the charger. That's it. Just plugged in on the charger. That's a great way. That's a great metaphor for it. 100% Haymaker. Sunfire's just chilling on the charger. Indeed. And I could see this maybe that, maybe Rhaenyra sent Alicent knowing that she was going to fail, but maybe she just wanted to get Helena alone. I mean, maybe, I suppose, but I feel like, Rhaenyra's the queen. If she wanted to get Helena alone, she wouldn't need to send Alicent away. She would just do it. But maybe, maybe just to do it a little bit easier, maybe. We'll see. Could be, it's definitely a possibility for sure. Yeah, 2 episodes still fully charged. Yeah, we can't make Joffrey a liar, right? That's what I'm saying, right? I mean, can we? I suppose we could make Joffrey a liar, but it wouldn't look very well in terms of the show's continuity and the canon. Like, it's one thing to change something from book to show, because the audience at this point knows that the book is one canon and the show is another canon, 2 totally different canons. But if you're going to break your already established show canon, yeah, that's not going to look like very competent writing. So yeah, can't make Joffrey a liar, can we? We certainly can't. But yeah, I guess we'll see what Helena ultimately reveals to Rhaenyra, and if it will be vital or useful going forward. And then it just ends with a few shots. Let's go back here. We'll see what we can see. I may compel you as your queen. Yeah, you might try. The look on Helena's face when Rhaenyra grabs her. Because that's the thing about Helena. Helena doesn't like being touched. And that was something that kind of was established early on in season 1. Helena would like recoil even when her own mother would try and touch her hand. So yeah, Helena is not enjoying Rhaenyra being this close to her. I get the feeling. But here we have some troops on the move, most likely on the move to Tumbleton. We know that I imagine episode 7 is for the most part going to be, maneuvering pieces on the board, setting everything up into place for not only the first Battle of Tumbleton to happen in the final episode, but also everything else that happens around the same time as the Battle of Tumbleton. Like the conditions in King's Landing, hopefully we see something over the course of these next 2 episodes that slowly foreshadows or sets up some of the stuff that's going to be happening in King's Landing in the final season in terms of like how bad it really gets in the city. And I think we already started to see a little bit of that with this whole Gold Cloak storyline. All of these Gold Cloaks getting killed in this way, already stirring up a lot of unrest within a city that's already in a permanent state of unrest usually. So they're slowly laying the groundwork for a lot of the crazy stuff that's going to happen in King's Landing. Yeah, they're keeping Corlys's fate a surprise. I mean, I think Corlys is very much going to be alive, and I think, unfortunately, some of the earlier trailers for season 3 kind of spoiled that, because there is like 1 or 2 scenes in the season 3 trailer of Corlys that we haven't seen on the show yet. So I think it's pretty safe to assume Corlys is going to be alive, and he is taken captive by John Roxton. But pretty interesting that John Roxton kind of, and this is another thing with the whole kind of teleportation of Westeros. It's pretty interesting that John Roxton managed to kind of cross the entirety of the Crown Lands completely unmolested, not even getting stopped at all, and manages to fucking get the drop on Corlys. It's just, again, sometimes you have to just suspend your disbelief when it comes to the travel in Westeros and how fast it happens. But I thought that was kind of funny, traversing the entirety of the Crown Lands and getting the drop on Corlys in the span of like 20 fucking minutes. Kind of funny. But yeah, I guess we'll see. What is going to happen with Corlys? What exactly are they going to do with him? What kind of bargaining chip are they going to hope to use him as? I don't know. But I do think it's pretty safe to assume that he is alive and he's going to be held captive and used in some manner. But we'll see what manner that is. We shall see what manner that is. Okay, then we have got a shot of the forces of the Blacks heading towards Tumbleton, which is going to be interesting, of course. Let me pause this. Sorry. Yeah, forces heading into Tumbleton. Very interesting. Let's see what else we got. We got a nice little shot of Aegon, and it looks like he is most likely still with Larys and good old Island there. Now, in episode 6, again, we don't really get a whole lot of Aegon, but we do get that one scene in the beginning when Tyland is digging the shallowest grave I've ever seen in my life, mind you. Like, the dude's body was literally poking up out of the ground. Like, he barely even dug a hole. He just threw some freaking dirt on the body. Worst grave I've ever seen. But apart from that, it seems that I liked the little test that Aegon gave to Tyland in episode 6, in that one scene that we got from him. Now, Aegon is coming off of just hearing everything that he heard from Larys, where for the first time in Aegon's life, someone was actually telling him the truth, telling him how they actually feel about him, how he's actually perceived by the rest of the world, instead of Aegon just being, fed with a silver spoon his whole life. And I think Aegon needed to hear that. I think he needed to kind of really hear just the God's honest truth every once in a while. Sometimes, you need to hear those kinds of things. And I think it's giving him a new perspective on how he sees himself, because I think Aegon always saw himself as the victim. Aemon was able to do this. Aemon was able to do that. I was taken out of the tourneys. Like, Aegon always saw himself as the victim. And Larys really had to kind of just lay it on him and tell him, like, bro, you had every opportunity to rise. You had every opportunity to just be incredibly great with all of the kind of advances you had. And you squandered every single one of them. I think Aegon really needed to hear that. And now I think it's going to be interesting to see how is his character going to evolve going forward. But I like this little test that he gives Tyland. He asks Tyland, do you think I'm a good person? Do you think I'm a bad person? And of course, Tyland gives him the most kind of PC kind of answer that he can, the most kind of fence riding answer he possibly can. And Aegon sees this and he sees, okay, this guy's not going to tell me the truth. Larys will tell me the truth. So it looks like we're going with Larry's plan. And I like that. I just thought that was it showed a little bit of cleverness on Aegon's part, a little bit of growth on his part, where he's testing these two individuals to see which one is going to be a better asset, which one of them is going to be a better advisor. And the person that is willing to tell you the truth, the person that isn't afraid to tell you the truth, is always going to be the better friend. And I think Aegon realized that in this scene, and I think that's why he goes with Larry's instead of Tyland's plan. But again, I like the evolution of Aegon's character this season. I feel like he's grown, and I feel like they're continuing to pull back those layers on him. And I think, again, Larry's just laying into him the way he did was a big part of that. He needed to hear that. Yeah, and Roxton gets back to Tumbleton. Exactly, right, Ravener? He gets all the way over there and then back to Tumbleton with Corlys before fucking the dragon seeds even get back, probably. Yeah, it's just, again, sometimes I guess you just have to suspend disbelief. I don't like Tyland's arc. The wearing of the armor, the falling into the drain just so happens to wind up in Rook's Rest to get in a Gucci cloak. It does. It makes no sense. It's absolutely nonsensical. The fact that he was even able to kind of hire sellswords at all, like what you mean to tell me that you had enough gold on you, you kept your armor, you're able to sell it or something? Like, how exactly did you even pay for these sellswords? I get it. You're a Lannister, but you were just in the middle of a battle. You got thrown into the fucking water, full armor on. I'm sorry. Even a Lannister is not going to be in a position to just hire sellswords when they arrive at Rook's Rest. So yeah, I think Tyland's storyline is a bit on the nose. Not on the nose, but it does feel a little bit forced, I guess I could say. Almost like they didn't really know what to do with Tyland, so they just kind of threw him in with Aegon and Larys. And it just, I don't know. Yeah, it just doesn't fit. I feel like the dynamic that Aegon and Larys had was perfect. It was incredibly good. The duo, like those two actors work well off each other. The characters fit well together. You throw Tyland in there and it just kind of throws off the vibe. It's just, I don't know, for me anyway, just in that one scene we got in episode 6, it seemed like the vibe was just different, not as fun as it was when it was just Aegon and Larys. But we'll see. We shall see. Yeah, Tyland actor has played 3 characters in this universe. I know, right? It's crazy. Yeah, that is crazy. He certainly has. HBO does that, though. You know, HBO tends to kind of use and reuse the same actors in the same show for different characters over and over and over again. Like if anyone watched Deadwood, HBO's Deadwood show, the character that played, the character that kills Wild Bill Hickok, the actor that played that actor, that character. He plays like 4 or 5 different characters in Deadwood. The same freaking actor. Every season he comes back as a different character, but it's the same actor every single time. And I always thought that was super strange. It's like, this is very clearly, definitively the same actor. And you are giving him like 4 different roles within the same show. And it just came off a little jarring at times. But with Tylan, it's not as noticeable because it's, it's very minor roles. That all of his characters have had. So I guess it doesn't stand out as much, maybe. But yeah, I think, the book Tylan is better. Yeah, I think the book Tylan's a little bit better than show Tylan. I do agree there. But yeah, let's see what else we got. Aegon, where is he going to go? And again, I know Aegon went and agreed with Larys' plan to hire a ship and head to Essos, but I get the feeling, they're definitely not going to go to Essos. I mean, I don't see how they could, considering where Aegon's storyline still needs to go. I wouldn't be surprised if right as they're getting ready to hire the ship and get to Essos, that boom, Sunfire shows up like right around there and stops Aegon from actually going to Essos now that he sees Sunfire's actually alive. I'm wondering if it's going to maybe play out that way, because something has to happen to turn them around. Aegon can't really go to Essos. He's got too much to do here. So something must turn them around between A and B, and maybe it will be the return of Sunfire. We'll see. We shall see. Then we get this shot of Aemon, and it looks like this is a similar shot from what we saw earlier in the trailer when he's down on the courtyard and he looks up and he sees Alicent, his mother, arriving at Harrenhal for the first time. So I have to imagine that's probably this. This is probably Aemon looking up and seeing Alicent arrive at Harrenhal, with a very surprised look on his face because he was not expecting her, of all people, to show up, I would imagine. And then, of course, we get a shot of good old Sheep Stealer, the ugly mud brown dragon from Rhaena. And again, not a big fan of what they did with Rhaena's character, cutting out Nettles the way they did. I think it was a huge mistake. I mean, Nettles is a great character on her own, but so is Rhaena. Rhaena's a good character on her own in the book. She has a great storyline in the book with Mourning, the Last Dragon, and everything that happens with Rhaena later on. Like, both of these characters have really good, compelling storylines that it's worthy to make them their own character. Like, you definitely did not need to shove Rhaena and Nettles into the amalgamation of just this one hybrid of the two. I don't know. It was a bit of a bummer. I know a lot of people were very upset when Nettles got cut out of the show. But I don't know. But that is the final shot. It's good old Sheep Stealer. Good old crappy-looking Sheep Stealer roaring. And I have to imagine this is most likely tied to the scene we saw earlier in the trailer of Adam of Hull and Baela telling Rhaenyra that they saw something strange. So maybe when Adam and Baela are out on patrol, they end up spotting Sheep Stealer in some capacity, and maybe even Rhaena herself. Because that's another thing that needs to happen at some point. At some point, Rhaenyra needs to find out about Rhaena, and she needs to find out that Daemon, who really played a part in Jace's death. Because again, they have to start that little breakup, that schism that develops between Daemon and Rhaenyra. It has to start somewhere, and that is most likely the perfect place for it to start once Rhaenyra finds out that Daemon lied to her about who really killed Jace and how Rhaena is out there and he's been protecting her this whole time. But we shall see. We shall see. I don't know. I like Dunk's reaction to the fortune teller. That's very good. Yeah. Yep. We got Ray Nettles instead. I know, man. It's bad. It's bad. Do those eggs get shipped off to Asshai after the war? We have no idea what's really going to happen with these eggs. This is another thing that's a little bit different from book to show in terms of, Dreamfire definitively laying eggs at Harrenhal when it was there, way back in the day when the previous Rhaena was riding good old Quicksilver. I don't know. I guess it'll be interesting to see what they do with this whole dragon egg storyline. I mean, Could they potentially try to hatch them? I mean, we do hear kind of Alice saying to Aegon, I don't know anything about the workings of dragons, but I've long dreamt about the return of House Targaryen. So could they potentially try to hatch these eggs? Maybe. I don't know. And if they do, maybe it will end in catastrophe. And that could be a small little foreshadowing for what could happen later on at Summerhall with Duncan Egg. I don't know. But this Dragon Egg storyline thing is, I don't know, it's definitely one of those things where it's kind of hard to tell where it's going to go because it doesn't really happen like that in the book. But I don't know. I've heard a lot of theories out there. Some people were theorizing that 3 of those dragon eggs might actually be Daenerys. Daenerys' dragons. Again, you never know what the show is going to tie in to Game of Thrones, from House of the Dragon to Game of Thrones, like how much continuity that is there. We know that they keep kind of reminding us over and over again that this is all one continuity. So yeah, I don't know. I guess, is it possible that they could be Daenerys eggs? Maybe on the show, but I don't know. I feel like it's kind of unlikely. But yeah, I don't know. I guess we'll see what happens with the dragon eggs. But there's the episode 7, folks. There's the episode 7 trailer, excuse me, folks. And yeah, I don't know. We got 2 episodes left, and it does look like episode 7 is mostly going to be kind of setting the board, setting up the pieces, maneuvering pieces into place for that final battle to happen in Tumbleton in the 8th episode, along with the rest of these storylines to kind of, kind of get ended off where they end off. And I have to imagine we're going to get some interesting cliffhangers to end this season off, just based on narratively where they're ending it and how much they're saving for the 4th and final season. Yeah, I'm definitely expecting, more of a cliffhanger ending, maybe even from the Battle of Tumbleton itself. But we'll see. Yeah, will Adam and Alan rescue Corlys? Maybe they will. Maybe they will. I think it's going to be interesting what happens with Corlys again, because that's another storyline that's different from the book in terms of him getting kidnapped like that. That doesn't happen. So yeah, I don't know. What is Ormond ultimately going to do with Corlys? Is he going to use him as a bargaining chip? Maybe. Most likely. I have to imagine that he didn't go this far out of his way to grab Corlys just to kill him. Like that just doesn't make sense. They would have just ambushed him and killed him right there on the road. If they're going this far out of their way to capture Corlys, then yeah, I have to imagine Ormond has a very specific plan for what he's going to do with Corlys when he arrives. But yeah, I don't know. Guess we'll see. Wasn't expecting the Alice storyline with Aemon to be that way. She also gave me the Red Woman vibes, less intrigued in that, more into other reasons. The show made it seem like it was power related, but love. Again, I think this is one thing that's been interesting about the character of Alice Rivers on the show is it's hard to kind of discern, like, what are her real motives. In season 1, I mean, in season 2, when her and Daemon were at Harrenhal together, I just felt like it was always kind of difficult to nail down exactly what Alice Rivers really wanted from Daemon. But here, with the dynamic between Alice and Aemond, it's a little bit different. It does seem like Alice is kind of, I don't know if falling for him is the right word, but she's definitely at the very least kind of leaning into, this idea of Aemond being, who she's going to hitch her horse to, her wagon to. But I don't know. Where is it going to go? Are we going to see them like full on romantic relationship where Alice gets kind of pregnant with his baby? Maybe. But I don't know. I guess we'll see what's going to happen with Alice and Aemond at Harrenhal. And again, now that Alicent has arrived at Harrenhal as well, I think that's going to be an interesting aspect. I remember somebody in the chat earlier wondering, how will Harrenhal affect Alicent? We've seen how it completely plagued and tormented Daemon when he spent time there. We're definitely seeing that Harrenhal is plaguing and tormenting Aemond now that he's there with all of these dreams. What exactly are the forces at Harrenhal going to do to Alicent when she arrives? And I think a lot of this stuff really just comes down to some of the guilt and stuff that they have buried deep down within them. almost like Harrenhal can kind of see what they're really afraid of, what their bad deeds really were, and kind of manipulates them accordingly. But yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see what happens with Alicent at good old Harrenhal. What exactly is going to be the effect on her? But yeah, man, I can't believe we only got 2 episodes left. They're going to remove this. I think those Harrenhal eggs might be the ones used in Summerhall. That I could see. That I could see a little bit more. And like I was saying earlier, I could even see this being a foreshadowing and a prelude to the tragedy of Summerhall. If we see maybe Alice and Aemond attempt to hatch these eggs and it fails and it just goes catastrophically wrong, I could totally see that being, a little bit of a foreshadowing, kind of a light setup for what's going to happen at Summerhall later on down the road. And yeah, could it even be the exact same eggs? Definitely could be, 100%. Would make sense that these would make sense the ones spin a tragic tale come from that nightmare location. I think so. I think that makes sense. I mean, again, Harrenhal seems to be festered with this kind of dark energy, this malignant kind of force that seems to be there. Very powerful, very old gods type stuff. So yeah, I mean, a dragon laying eggs in an environment like that, I could totally see those eggs being maybe corrupted a little bit. And maybe that's what ends up leading to the whole Summerhall thing, trying to hatch eggs that are corrupted. But no, I think that's an interesting theory. Thomas, I like it. I think that's a good one. Definitely a good one. But yeah, I don't know. I guess we'll see, guys. I guess we shall see. Episode 6 is in the books. All we have left now is episode 7 and 8. And then that's it. Then it's another long wait for the 4th and final season. But I don't know. I am looking forward to seeing it. I want to see how will they set up the Battle of Tumbleton. How will it differ from the book? And where exactly will they ultimately end the season off on? Cliffhanger? Will the battle be over? I don't know. But I do want to see where these final 2 episodes are going to go. Definitely want to see where these final 2 are going to go. But R.I.P. Crispy Cole. You are Krispy Kreme Cole no more. And it was a pleasure to watch you, my friend. And again, regardless of the kind of character that he was, which definitely was not a great character when it comes to Crispin Cole. At the very least, one thing I can say is the actor Fabian Frankel, who's been playing Cole, he's done pretty good. I think he's done pretty good. Anytime an actor can elicit a response out of you to the point where you really, really hate their character, that's a testament to an actor doing a good job. That they're very good at the villain that they're playing to the point where you can't stand them. And I think he has that to a certain degree with a good portion of the fandom, where he's just that kind of character. He just kind of brings it out, I suppose. But yeah, R.I.P. Crispy Cole. He is no more. Yeah, the Kristen Cole actor deserved better. I mean, maybe. Again, this is pretty much how it kind of goes down in the book too. So they were trying to stay faithful to how his death happens in the book. But one thing they did do in the show, and we talked a little bit about this earlier, but in the book, his death is even more anticlimactic, where he just kind of gets killed right away. But here in the show, they made it a little bit different, where they gave Crispin and the Green Forces one final fight scene before he gets killed. One final scene to kind of showcase how good of a fighter Crispin is. And I do think that was the writers kind of throwing him that. Let's give him one final really cool fight scene to do before we just kill him off in a very anticlimactic way. And I think that's why we got that little skirmish that happens before he dies, before the Butcher's Ball really starts, that little tiny fight, that the ambush, basically, when the Northmen ambush the Rivermen pretending to be dead. So yeah, again, I think it was an interesting ending for the character. I didn't mind it. I feel like endings like this, they're a little bit more realistic, I think, at times. Yes, when you have a character like Crispin Cole, who's a very accomplished warrior, you kind of want to see them go out in a blaze of glory, see them going out fighting, 5 or 10 different men at once. but that's not always realistic. You know, when it comes to stuff like this, sometimes more often than not, it would be a very anticlimactic death on the battlefield. And I think George has always leaned into a little bit more of that realism aspect of some of these battles where, no, you're not going to get this big, epic final last duel. No, you're going to get 3 arrows and that's it. You're done. Finito. We're not going to let you become this larger than life character. We're not going to let them sing songs about you. So I thought it was an interesting ending. Again, it's definitely anticlimactic, but I think it leans a little bit more into the realism side. But man, we'll see. We shall see what's going to happen next. Crispy Cole and his forces are gone. Luckily, Gawain Hightower managed to slip out and made it back to Old Town in time. And again, Gawain was really good in episode 6. Him sniffing out those assassins and just taking action like that, that was a really freaking good scene. I think Gawain's another character who really, really evolved a lot these 2 seasons. So that was fun. That was really fun to see Gawain kind of thwart the assassins. Oh, man. Good stuff. Good stuff. But there it is, folks. Episode 7 is just around the corner now, and I know we've dived a little bit into the trailer, but I am going to do a much kind of deeper episode 7 trailer breakdown video. I'll have that up on the channel probably tomorrow. And I'm also going to be doing a deeper dive into all of the new lore that we have just received surrounding Robert's Rebellion and the Mad King play, all of which is 100% confirmed to be canon with the book. Not show canon. This is straight up book canon. And we got so many reveals, so many things confirmed, so much new stuff that we didn't even know was coming. We really got a definitive look at Robert's Rebellion. So I'm definitely going to do a video where I break down most of that. And I am very much looking forward to doing that as well. But there we have it, folks. Episode 7 is just around the corner now. We are just a few days away. And this Sunday, we'll, of course, be resuming our pregame show and our live watch party, which will also lead right into our live after show after we're done watching together. I know I didn't really have a chance to do one this weekend because I was kind of off on vacation, but I am back now, back at the house, back at the original setup. And this Sunday, we will be diving into our Episode 7 watch party. And hopefully I see each and every one of you there with us. But there it is, folks. Episode 7 is coming. Episode 6 is in the books. And that is going to do it for us tonight. This Saturday, we will be live again doing our From streams. I know the From streams, we've been getting a lot more requests. People still want to talk From, and I do too. I'm totally down to talk From for as long as people want to talk From. So this Saturday, we will be continuing our From stream, and we will be diving all the way back to the beginning, revisiting the beginning like we did last week. Only this week, we will be diving into episodes 2 and 3 of season 1. So there it is, folks. Going back to the beginning for From on Saturday night, and then on Sunday night, we continue our House of the Dragon watch party. And yeah, the watch party is definitely worth it. It is. It's been fun. It's been a lot of fun. And big shout out to Palmas, big shout out to Ando, and a big shout out to Ravener. You know, they've been holding it down when it comes to all the watch parties that we have been doing in the Discord, from to House of the Dragon and basically everything. So big shout out to Ravener, Palmas, and Ando for holding down that for as well. And there is the watch party link right there for this Sunday. We will be watching it together in the Discord. But of course, first we will have our pregame show here on YouTube like we usually do, and then our after show on YouTube right when we're done watching. But there we go, folks. Big thank you to each and every one of you for joining us this evening, and a huge thank you for the super chats from West of Westeros and from Series Queries. Very much appreciate you guys for all of the help and all of the support. It really does help, and it means the world to us. But there it is, folks. I will see you guys on Saturday night for the next live stream for From going back to the beginning. But tomorrow I will have my episode 7 trailer breakdown up on the channel. And I'm also going to be doing a much deeper dive into the Robert's Rebellion information that we just got as well. So keep an eye on that. Till next time, folks, stay safe out there. Keep those tinfoil hats on, and we will see you on the next one. Cheers.
Gods. Kings. Fire. And blood. Dreams didn't make us kings. Dragons did. The threat of war looms.